Wimmer and these drivers will have a lot to deal with and adjust to today in Montgomery, Alabama. This racetrack surface is very abrasive. You can see the rocks in it. That's going to wear tires. Also, the track came apart yesterday in turn number 1. They put cement down. That's a concern because these guys didn't get practice.
It's been a wild weekend so far. Find out what else lies beneath the surface of Montgomery Motor Speedway next on TNN. A sun-splashed Sunday afternoon in Montgomery, Alabama. We're live at Montgomery Motor Speedway for the ASA AC-Delco Series on TNN Sports. Today, the Actionline 300, and we're looking forward to an exciting afternoon of stock car action. Hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Benjamin, along with my friend and colleague Steve Burns. Round 4 of the 2000 ASA season. We've seen a lot of excitement so far, but Steve, today, these teams have a lot to contend with, especially the weather.
It's going to be 90 degrees, every bit of it. It's hot down on that racetrack, Rick, and we have a new venue. As Bob Dillner said, it's an abrasive surface. Tires will be an issue. As it gets heated up, it'll get slick, so we're going to see another wild one.
Yesterday during practice, the track started to break up. They did qualify late last night after patching the racetrack, but some of the drivers are concerned there could be problems in other parts of the track today. We'll keep an eye on that for you. Time now, though, to meet the drivers, so we'll start in the first 5 rows today here at Montgomery.
Hi, I'm Mike Garvey, driver of the #1 LaFavor Racing Teams. Tecumseh sponsor Chevy Monte Carlo. Hi, Scott. Car's awesome, buddy.
Brandon Sperling, driver of the #40 Christian Motorsport Chevrolet. We're starting on the front row this weekend. I'd like to thank Bissell for helping us out.
Hi, I'm Gary Sain of Mount Clemens, Ohio, driver of the Winds GM Goodwrench Chevrolet. I'd like to wish my wife a happy 34th birthday, and hi, Jordan.
My name is Kevin Swinski, driver of the #21 LaFavor Racing Monte Carlo. I'd just like to wish all the mothers a happy Mother's Day and a little bit early.
Hi, I'm Scott Wimmer, driver of the 05 WJ Clemens Insurance Sierra Racing Products left-hander chassis. Just like to say hi to everybody back home.
Hi, I'm Mike Miller, the driver of the #18 Jenny King Pontiac. Hi, Judy and Andrea in India.
I'm Johnny Sauter, driver of the #01 Murray Outdoor Products LaFavor Racing Team Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Just want to say hi to my dad back home in Wisconsin and the LaFavor family back at the cabin in Minnesota.
Hey, my name's Greg Stewart, driver of the #33 Pontiac, still looking for sponsorship. I want to say hey to everybody in Johnston County and hope we have a good race today.
I'm Ricky Johnson, driver of the #22 Nationwide Auction Systems Chevrolet. I want to say hi to Stephanie and my kids, Luke, Jake, and Cassidy in North Carolina.
Hi, I'm David Bonnet, driver of the Dunlop Golf True Temper Chevrolet. I'd like to say hello, happy Mother's Day to my mother and all the mothers out there.
And, of course, we echo those sentiments. Sure. Mother's Day a little bit early. One note here, Rick, before we get going. Greg Stewart will have to drop to the rear of the field. His team made an honest mistake. They put the wrong gas into his tank, but rules are rules. Greg Stewart will have to drop from his top 10 starting position to the rear.
Fuel an issue in NASCAR, of course, this week, too, with the penalty to Jeremy Mayfield's team. We want to let you know, we told you at Hickory a couple of weeks ago that series champ Tim Sauter had been found to have improper fuel in his car. ASA officials tell us it did test that the team had put an improper oxygen-adding agent into the fuel. It was not Canadian Elf race fuel, as they had originally thought. Sauter was penalized according to the ASA rules. Terry McDonald-Cadieux, want to talk about her for a moment. Qualified through time for her first ASA race. She made the show at Lakeland, but this week in the top 20 of qualifying.
And that was a very strong move for her. Another guy needing a strong outing is Dave Sensiba. We followed his plight at Hickory. Bob Dillner has more on Dave Sensiba.
Well, Steve, we told you at Hickory that he had no money left. He wasn't going to run anymore. He risked a lot to start this team this year, both personally and financially. The only reason he is here is because he had rented that car to another driver. The driver couldn't show up. They figured they had the car already and ready to go for Montgomery, so they did show up. He is racing today, but tomorrow is still a question.
Question marks this week, too, from Brandon Sperling's team. Sperling comes off a fine 6th place run at Hickory 2 weeks ago. Outside pole sitter today, 2nd in points, Steve, but their future's in question also.
It is. I talked to Brandon Sperling Sperling yesterday. And remember in Hickory, Rick's car owner said we need a top 5 finish to go to Montgomery. Well, they were right there. They're here, but the future is in jeopardy for the number 40 team. As you said, second in points. But another fine starting run here today for Brandon Sperling. He's going to make the most of it while he can.
Trouble already for one of the teams on pit road. This is Kevin Larkins, the former IMCA modified champion, racing out of Greenwood, Nebraska, the Speedway Motors Pontiac Grand Prix, we should say. Larkins with trouble, unable to get the car out on the Speedway for the pace laps. This is the first show Kevin has qualified for and has high hopes this afternoon. Take a look at the drivers who came but failed to make the starting lineup for the Actionline 300 today. John Silverthorne, who was very quick back at the season opener in Florida. Dave Doran, who made every race last year. Greg Williams, Gary Sherman, Alec Pinsino backed it into the wall last night during the consolation race, the 100-lap non-qualifiers event. Buddy Gainey failing to make the race. Dennis Lampman, who won the non-qualifiers race at Lanier back earlier this season. And Philip Cranifus missing the show. It has been a difficult week for the Cranifus family.
Yeah, he's been an impressive rookie. And as you said, his father's the owner of the number 12 car on the Winston Cup circuit. Jeremy Mayfield, the driver. And you know, Rick, we can't stress this enough. The car counts that we've had. 50 races, the opening race. 49, 49, 46 here again. So healthy fields.
Let's get a quick update on pit road. Bob Diller, what's going on with the Larkins machine?
Rick, the bottom line is the car just won't start. The crew, I just spoke to them. They are puzzled right now. And you can see the disappointment written all over Kevin Larkins' face.
The Chad Wood machine, the Ford, the 2 car out of the Musgrave shops also coming in. They're going to pop the hood on that race car and take a look at the GM Vortec power plant inside, see if they can figure out what's wrong there. Now, he was under power, so we know the car started, but evidently something amiss under the hood of that race car. That's the Dwight Yoakam Biscuits Ford, and they will drop the hood, send him back on his way. About ready to get started. 300 laps to go here at Montgomery. Beautiful afternoon for stock car racing. A full house here for the ASA's second ever race in the state of Alabama. First ever trip to Montgomery Motor Speedway. Nice facility here. The Huffman organization has done a great job of getting this track up to ASA standards for today's show. Mike Garvey on the front row on the pole, and alongside Brandon Sperling. This ought to be a great duel down to turn 1.
And Brandon Sperling is one hungry young racer.
Dan Spence overseeing the dropping of the green flag. We're underway at Montgomery. Dropping to the back of the pack down the backstretch. And your Wilson and Garvey will lead lap number 1 with Sperling and Kevin Sawinski door to door and gives Sawinski second spot.
Rick, every driver I talked to unanimously along pit road yesterday said the quick way around this racetrack is on the bottom. Relatively flat. It's not going to be easy to pass. You've got to be able to get on the bottom of this racetrack.
Track that reminds a lot of us a lot of Lakeland International, where the series opened up the season down in Florida. That's a 3/4 mile racetrack, but configured very much like the half mile here at Montgomery. Garvey is your leader. Sawinski is second. Get a look back at Mike Miller dropping into 5th in the Jana King 18 car. That's the Pontiac, the white and black machine. On board with Rick Beebe, the Grease Lightning on board camera today, riding with Rick, the 23 car. Jerry Gunderman's shops, the All-Star Racing machine. He's going by Scott Hansen down the front straightaway, so Beebe is on the move early. He and Hansen just wheel to wheel down into turn 1.
Boy, this is great racing action already, Rick. They're side by side and nose to tail. Great racing here in Montgomery. And you know, Gary St. Amant told me yesterday, Rick, that he was lost when he first started practicing. He said this is a track where you have to actually slow down in order to go fast. Get the car slowed down in the corner, get it set up, and rock it off the corner.
Beebe and Tim Sauter battling back there for 21st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Dave Sensiba sits 23rd right now, and Scott Hansen back in 24th. Tim Sauter, the defending series champion, really hasn't gotten on track yet this year, running 22nd at the moment. Didn't qualify particularly well, started 19th. He's backed up a couple of spots here in the early going as we remain on board with Rick Beebe.
You know, there's Tim Sauter, the number 9. We talk about how these guys are hands-on racers, Rick. They work on their race cars. Well, Tim Sauter is the defending series champion. He drove the team truck down here, loaded up the race car, and drove it 15 hours to get down here.
You have to want to go racing badly to participate in the ASA series. It is a series for guys who have a dream and a lot of times don't have the most resources, but have the smarts and the desire to get the job done. That's certainly the case for Tim Sauter as we show you the field back where Beebe is running along with Sensiba. This is back in 22nd, 23rd spot. Tim Sauter directly in front of the low class number 9. He is the series champ, as we told you. Tim looking for his first victory, though, in the year 2000. Larry Foyt back there as well in the purple Harris Pontiac out of the A.J. Foyt Butch Miller shops. Larry running 20th at the moment. They're coming up on Terry McDonald. And black number 4 machine. She is the teammate to Gary St. Amant. St. Amant running up front in 4th spot right now as we continue to ride. The race lighting camera with Rick Beebe today.
And we see Larry Foyt there in the 14. He is, listen to this pressure, Rick. He is a student at Texas Christian University, TCU. He has 2 final exams on Monday, 3 final exams on Tuesday because he says he has to test on Wednesday. Bob Dillner said he couldn't find him at the racetrack yesterday because he has nose buried in the books, getting ready for the finals.
There was a lot of downtime here yesterday as they worked on patching the first turn here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. It took several hours to get that done. Qualifying was pushed back from 5 to almost 9 o'clock, and Larry took advantage of that time to get some studying in as the second semester wraps up at many colleges across the country. Mike Garvey is still your leader. Chad Wood off pit road onto the racetrack. Bob, what did they find under the hood of the 2 car?
Rick, the crew is just patiently watching that number 2 car from Musgrave Motorsports right now. They think a plug wire has come off, and they think they are running on 7 cylinders right now. They're not going to bring her in. They're hoping for a caution.
Wood did not lose a lap according to timing and scoring, but the guy who may lose the lead here momentarily is Mike Garvey, the pole sitter. His teammate, former champion in this series, Kevin Sawinski, knocking on the door in 2nd in car number 21. They are drivers who are both very hungry for a win. Neither driver has had a very strong early season. Garvey with his 2nd pole in the year, but has had lots of problems in the early going. Had tough luck at Hickory a couple of weeks ago, spun and took himself out of a strong finishing position. Garvey with 4 victories 1 year ago hasn't really come close so far this season.
Rick, as you mentioned, those 2 drivers there are teammates at Lefevre Motorsports, and Kevin Sawinski told me that they build race cars along with Johnny Sauter, who's in the 01. Those 3 teams, they work side by side. They help each other with the setups. They test a lot together, but once they get on the racetrack, it's different. And we've got a big crash in turn 1. Mark Dismore, one of them.
Mark Dismore involved up there. Looks like it could be the 83 of Joey Clanton also in that mess, and Greg Stewart out of North Carolina in the white 33, the Pontiac. So Mark Dismore, whose dad, Mark Sr., the Indy Racing League star, is here to watch today. We'll hope to talk to him a little later on. Sees his son get caught up in the first caution of the afternoon on lap number 14. So we are under caution for the first time. Early on, we talked about Scott Wimmer, who comes in here with 2 straight victories, only the 2nd time ever that a rookie in ASA has won 2 in a row, and Scott doing it in only 3 starts. He's running very strongly. Started 5th today, rides 5th at the moment. Stewart back underway, a little bit of body damage. The driver who took the worst hit, Joey Clanton in the 83, the Steve Dale Motorsports machine, up between turns 1 and 2. He took a hard shot in the back end of that race car. We're going to take a timeout here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. Much more to talk about as ASA Racing comes your way on TNN Sports. Our coverage today of the ASA's Actionline 300 is being brought to you by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control. And by Armor All Protectant and Armor All Car Wax. It's not just shine, it's Armor All. Back live at Montgomery Motor Speedway in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm Rick Benjamin alongside Steve Burns today for your TNN Sports live coverage of the ASA Stock Car Series. Trouble for David Bonnet, good friend of ours, the late Neil Bonnet's son, making his first ASA start ever in the Caton Motorsports Chevrolet, the Dunlop Golf Systems car. David has stopped up at turn 3 at what is essentially his home racetrack. Hopefully he'll be able to get refired and rejoin the field. Show you quickly what happened up between turns 1 and 2. It looked like Joey Clanton might have gotten loose all by himself and fell to the wall, and Mark Dismore spun too. Now that is very close to the section of racetrack that was patched. Greg Stewart on the brakes, didn't hit very hard. He was close to Mark Dismore there, but just put a little bit of nudge, it looked like, on the front bodywork of the 33 car. Here comes David Bonnet getting a push down around pit road. I have to think, Steve, that perhaps that patch might have had something to do with it, because you saw Dismore and Clanton spin pretty far apart from one another in the same section of racetrack.
Yeah, it might have, Rick. We saw the 44 of Mark Dismore turn sideways. We don't know exactly how that started, but you're right. It's in that area where the track had problems, or the pavement had problems yesterday.
Talked about Scott Wimmer at the top of the broadcast, starting 5th today, 2 consecutive victories in his rookie ASA campaign. The youngster out of Wisconsin, no question, he has been the big story of the season so far. The 24-year-old missed the opener in Lakeland, but he stormed back to win the 2 straight. Scott Wimmer is our BF Goodrich big name in the making this week at Montgomery.
Wimmer started going fast when he strapped on skis at the age of 2 and never slowed down. In 1991, he raced downhill in Junior Olympics and skied in high school. But stock cars are his first love, and by 1994, he was focused on the uphill journey of motorsports.
I've been racing since '94, 5-6 nights a week, and we've just been working real hard at it. And to keep myself in a race car and keep working on them, and it gives you a little bit of advantage over guys that just race 20 races a year like those guys do. So we keep busy and always try to keep our cars up and maintained well. Take the car, take the tires, we'll clean them underneath off, take the tires off, repack all the wheel bearings, and just kind of preventive maintenance for a problem we might have.
Scott is a hands-on racer working out of the family shop in Wisconsin. When this season started, Scott had modest goals.
We were going to run 8 races and try to stay up in the points as far as we could and see how it went from there. And to come out at Lakeland, we had problems. And we go from Lakeland, we went to Lanier and won. And then after Lanier, we were kind of just planning on running 8 more, and we went to Hickory and won. So it kind of put every other plan I had for the year on hold, and we're going to focus mainly on ASA this year now. So it was a big change. We definitely didn't think we were going to win 2 races. We thought we'd run well, top 10s, top 5 maybe, but to win 2 is just unreal.
And Scott Wimmer, can you believe it, Rick? 2 starts this year, 2 wins, was only going to run 8 races before this season started.
Hard to believe that you could come into a series as difficult as this one is to compete in and start making races quickly, not only make them, but dominate the last 2 the way he has in the second half of those matches. Way into the field. Wimmer restarts now in 5th spot. That's where he started. We've got 22 laps complete here of 300 this afternoon at Montgomery Motor Speedway. Everybody away cleanly, nicely through the patch that time. Nobody getting upset, but drivers had told us yesterday and again this morning they were concerned that the difference in contour there between the fresh cement and the pavement that's been down here for 40-some years of racing could cause a car to upset a little bit, to just jerk a little bit toward the outside, and we're wondering if that might not have had something to do with the 2 spins we saw a moment ago. Looking at your top 3 cars. In car number 1, pole sitter Mike Garvey, second time on the pole this year. He's been the leader since the drop of the green. Kevin Sawinski has powered to second quickly. He came from 4th starting spot. Brandon Sperling, the outside pole sitter, rides 3rd in that red and black Crookston Motorsports number 40, searching for a sponsor. And the series point leader, the 98 champion Gary St. Amant, rides in 5th spot. And there's Scott Wimmer as we look a little further back. How about Mike Eddy and Mike Miller going at it? This is for 6th and 7th, and Mike Eddy has 6th spot right now. I thought he might be a threat today, Steve. This is Mike Eddy's kind of racetrack. A fast half mile. He started good up in 11th spot. A good qualifying run for the veteran. 7-time ASA champion. He's a guy who is due for a victory here in the year 2000.
Boy, when you talk about 2 veterans, there they are. Mike Miller in the 18. As we pan back, Johnny Sauter, Rick Johnson. But yeah, Eddie and Mike Miller, 2 veterans with a lot of wins. You know, Rick, I was looking before the race. The top 10 in points have 110 career victories between them.
There is a lot of experience and a lot of great race car drivers in that. But watching Wimmer, he still sits 5th back there, riding alone down the back straightaway. He's tucked in behind Gary St. Amant. St. Amant on the yellow 7 car. That's the Wins Good Red Chevrolet out of Bud Evans shops. There's Wimmer moving in behind him. So 3rd is Sperling now in the 40 car. 7, the St. Amant machine, is sitting in 4th. And there's Wimmer riding in 5th spot. The leader, Garvey, in the clear by about 6 car lengths at the moment. Bob Dillner, the early run for Wimmer has been a very strong but pretty conservative one.
Well, take a look at that picture right there. That's Scott Wimmer, the nephew of the late Larry Degens, inside of his car. Larry Degens, a very famous race car driver from the Wisconsin area. In fact, he only ran a handful of ASA races, won 3. Scott Wimmer tells me he thinks of Larry Degens every time he gets in that car here in the ASA Series.
Degens, one of the terrors of the upper Midwest short tracks in the 60s and early 70s. His life tragically shortened in an accident, but he was a guy everybody knew was just a guy you had to beat. If you were going to come to the racetrack against Larry, he was the guy you had to watch.
And you look at that quote there. We talked to Mark Martin this week, and he said Larry Degens was a great guy. In 1978, when Mark was racing in the ASA, he worked out out of Larry's shop for a week and a half, and he said, you know, Larry's death in 1981 was a tragedy. And Rick, I guess we should mention Mark Martin dealing with a tragedy of his own. His 27-year-old nephew, Christian Lovendahl, was killed in an accident near Mooresville, North Carolina.
Had a spin on the front stretch, and we've got trouble again on the racetrack. This time down going into turn number 1. The 8 of Robbie Pyle in trouble. Looks like Larry Foyt is caught down there as well, actually at the exit of 1 going around toward turn 2. So caution on the Speedway for the second time this afternoon. Robbie Pyle in the Young Motorsports Monte Carlo. His teammate Tom Harrington here for the first time in 2000. Harrington failing to make the show in the other Young Motorsports Chevrolet this weekend. Larry Foyt had spun down between 1 and 2, and Pyle on the brakes to avoid him. So Larry Foyt, his learning curve in ASA has been a tough one. He's quick. Butch Miller thinks he's got tons of potential, but Larry has had his problems keeping the car straight at several venues so far in the early going. Pyle stopping on the backstretch. He'll look for his spot in the restart lineup and look to pick up and get back in line in the proper spot. On board with Rick Beebe now going down into 1. That's Foyt directly in front of him. Foyt got too low. A guy loose. He caught Robbie Pyle.
That was a great view. You saw the left side tires getting down in the dirt, and that was all it took. Foyt couldn't miss him.
So Robbie Pyle stopped on the backstretch, gets a little help from the wrecker there. He'll need a push start. He'll get refired and hopefully be able to rejoin the field. Larry Foyt fired up as well. 32 laps complete. Still Mike Garvey in command here in Montgomery. Back live at Montgomery Motor Speedway, Montgomery, Alabama. The ASA AC-Delco Series today on TNN Sports. The Actionline 300. Larry Foyt back on the Speedway after a quick trip to pit road. Mike Miller to Bob Dillner.
Rick, I have an update on Larry Foyt. He got involved in an accident before. They had a right front fender rubbing. They moved it out, and he should be okay. Mike Miller actually came in during this round of pit stops as well, and I just spoke to crew chief Carl Hyland. He told me before the race they had trouble with Mike Miller's cool suit to keep him cool. Well, they put it back in the car during this pit stop because heat is definitely going to be a factor here today with track temperatures almost 130 degrees.
Ready to go green. Mike Miller is a tough customer. Don't count him out. Ready to go. Mike Garvey, a restart leader. He's led the first 36 laps. His teammate Kevin Sawinski up from 4th to 2nd. Brandon Sperling rides 3rd. Gary Stedemont in the yellow 7 car there is 4th. Young Scott Wimmer is 5th in the 05. And how about Mike Eddy, the polar bear, riding in 6th spot right behind Wimmer. I think Mr. Wimmer may be going to school here shortly. There's Eddy to the inside of Wimmer to take the next spot away.
And Mike Eddy has 57 wins in this series, Rick. So as you said, he might just settle in behind and ride behind Mike Eddy. Scott Wimmer might.
He could learn plenty, to be sure. Mike Eddy, the career leader in laps led in ASA competition, the only 7-time series champion. He and Dale Earnhardt had a rivalry a few years ago to see who would get to number 8 quicker. Well, John Force has outstripped both those drivers in NHRA funny car competition. But in terms of oval track racing, both Miller, or rather both Eddy and Earnhardt, still bidding for number 8. And don't count Eddy out this year. He is very much in the hunt. He's had a strong early season, had led the most laps going into the Hickory race 2 weeks ago, but at this point looking for his first win of the season, riding right now behind Gary Stedemont, sitting in 5th spot.
Mike Eddy, I believe, Rick, has led, this is incredible, 18,000 laps in ASA competition.
Mike Eddy riding there. Sperling, you see Sperling riding in 3rd spot. 2nd in that group of cars is Stedemont.
Well, I'm proud to do what I've done as long as I've done it. You know, that's something to be proud of. And as far as accomplishments, you know, I just want to go to the racetrack and be competitive and run good. If I'm not competitive and don't run good, then I don't really care if I'm there. I mean, I take pride in my racing, and I want to be successful at it. And I work hard at being successful, and I'll do whatever it takes to be successful.
And Rick, as I said, Mike Eddy has led nearly 18,000 laps. Second most, Bob Seneker has led 10,000 laps. That's an amazing statistic.
He has been the dominant force in this series for a long time. And last year, if fans were with us along the tour, Hadn't run in the early part of the season. We've told the story. Came to Madison, Wisconsin, and just lit the place on fire. Came from the back of the pack to win in his first start back in the year 1999. Only ran 5 races. Was in position to win a couple of other ones. Didn't have things go quite his way, but Eddie's certainly a very strong contender, and he has now climbed to 4th. He's gotten around Brandon Sperling. 43 laps are in the books here at Montgomery. Gary St. Amant is 3rd. Eddie now 4th. Still Garvey and Sawinski out in front. There you see Sperling settling in 5th, and Wimmer back in 6th position. There's Garvey alone. Kevin Larkins back on the racetrack in the 04 machine. Spent the first 25 laps or so on pit road when the car wouldn't fire. Talk about a guy who's had a difficult early season. It is Larkins. They were unable to qualify the first couple of trips out. Finally made the show. Then the car wouldn't fire here today. The former IMCA modified champ. And David Bonnet's back on the racetrack as well. His car cut off up in turn 3. Bob Dillner, what did they say was wrong?
Rick, David Bonnet is another guy that has had a difficult start to the season. He missed the first 3 races. Qualified very well here in 10th. He is very frustrated, very aggravated inside that car right now because the switch that controls all the electronics in the car went bad. They came in, replaced that switch, but he is 9 laps down.
David Bonnet out on the racetrack, though, picking up experience in his first ASA ride in that 75 car, painted much like one of the cars his dad raced so successfully for so many years in the NASCAR Winston Cup Trail.
And Rick, you know, the Alabama gang, everybody talked about the Allisons, the Bonnets, Red Farmer. This is where many of those guys, this racetrack, got their start.
And, of course, here at the Birmingham Fairgrounds, a couple of hours away. 46 laps are complete here at Montgomery. A hot Sunday afternoon. Mike Garvey showing everybody the way. Back live at Montgomery Motor Speedway, Montgomery, Alabama on TNN Sports. The ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns. Bob Dillner is on pit road, earning his $139 today because it is hot. 130 degrees, the track temperature. And the hottest guy on the racetrack now, Mike Garvey in the Tecumseh Chevrolet, car number 1, the pole sitter this weekend. And Garvey badly wants his first win of the year. A reminder, find out all the ASA information you need by experiencing country.com, your personal source for all things country, from race cars to country stars. Connect on your personal computer to country.com. Garvey has opened up a lead of 1.6 seconds right now. His teammate Kevin Sawinski settling in back there, but he has given up second spot to Mike Eddy. Eddy has blistered his way by Sawinski, and he's trying to track down the leader. And I think this could be the day that we see Mike Eddy make some serious noise. There's Wimmer in the 05, still riding 5th. He's got Sawinski in front of him now in 4th spot, and Gary St. Amant behind. So things have been jumbled at the front of the field just a little bit. Your leader continues to be the 1 of Garvey as we watch those lead cars work down into turn 1. That is the battle a little further back. Eddy is 2nd, Sawinski is 3rd, Wimmer now is 4th, and St. Amant has backpedaled to 5th. The 40 of Sperling riding 6th, and here's Wimmer now working over Sawinski, dropping a wheel off the pavement there in turn 3, looking for a way by on the low side.
Hey, Rick, you talked about the low side. Gary St. Amant told me yesterday, you know, he said, I was lost when I got here. Well, who did he go to for advice? Mike Eddy.
Really?
He said, Mike, how do I get around this place? And he said, in his best Mike Eddy imitation, well, St. Amant, how do you think you get around a flat track? On the bottom. So that's exactly what they're doing.
Oh, a little rub and go down into 1. Wimmer put a little fender work there on the 21 of Sawinski, and Sawinski holds his ground, but Wimmer will ride to the outside. Scott had told us yesterday that the guy who wins today will have to be able to race in the middle of the racetrack, and I think he may have a car that will do that today.
And what did I say after Hickory, Rick? I said everybody's going to be screaming, oh, he's cheated up, he's doing something. And sure enough, up and down pit road yesterday, they said, oh, we know Wimmer's tricked up. Scott said, no, I'm not. We just know exactly what we're doing with this left-hander chassis, which Bob Dillner will talk about later on. You know, these cars all look the same on the outside. We know they have the factory sealed engine from GM, the Vortec motor, but they're very different underneath. Bob will talk about that a little bit later.
I think there's 6 different chassis manufacturers that provide the underpinnings of these race cars, and of course a couple of different body styles. The engines and tires are the same, but the chassis manufacturers all have different ways of building fast race cars, and we will discuss that a little more later on. Fastest race car in the place right now belongs to Garvey, at least for the moment, but Mike Eddy is gaining ground on him. He's cut the lead down to 1.3 seconds, so Garvey is making up time, or rather Eddy is making up time on Garvey. Leaders on the backstretch as we watch the field come down the front straightaway.
I'm impressed impressed again. We've talked about Scott Wimmer. You know, they said, well, maybe he's just doing it on the short tracks, on the bull rings. Well, this is a bigger track, you know, than Hickory or Lanier, and he's looking just as impressive as he's moved up to third. And Rick, I should note that David Bonnet in the 75 has just pulled behind the pit wall. As Bob Dillner said, he's just heartbroken inside that race car. There he is, right behind the wall.
Place where he was a former track champion, as we showed you, in 1989. David Bonnet won the track title here and at Birmingham as well. Mike Garvey catching the back end of the field. 60 laps complete here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. Track temperatures very hot. The racing's pretty good too. We'll be back. Back live at Montgomery Motor Speedway, Montgomery, Alabama. Race leader is the one car, Mike Garvey, in the ASA AC-Delco Series. He's moving to the inside of the lap machine of Larry Foyt, the Harris Pontiac 14 car. Garvey has had things all his way so far. He's led the first 67 laps after starting on the pole. Garvey trying to get another lap of the 14 car. But now that Mike Garvey's in traffic, look at that, Steve Burns. Mike Eddy in that Chrome Illusion bronze number 88 car up to second spot and closing fast on the one car.
And as we said, Rick, he is driving the bottom of the racetrack. As he gets through the turns, he will almost, well, there he drifts a little bit high, but down in turns 1 and 2, he's got those tires right on the bottom of the racetrack.
We've seen several drivers put a wheel off the track down into the dirt. Garvey just did it, coming through 3 and 4 a couple of times. I've got to wonder if that's a smart strategy today. Now, they are on the BF Goodrich radials, which don't cut down as easy as the previous bias ply tires, but I would think you'd be concerned on a hot day like this. You wouldn't want to pick up gravel on the tread surface.
Not only that, Rick, we've had 39 laps now of green flag racing, and these guys said after 20 laps they start to lose the grip to the racetrack. So you're right. I mean, why make it worse?
On board the one car quickly on the Tecumseh onboard camera of Mike Garvey looking back at Eddie. That's your battle for the lead. Eddie just 2 car lengths behind there. One of the drivers who's had a good early season but is behind the wall early. The 8 of Robbie Pyle. We saw him involved in an early wreck up in turns 1 and 2 as that battle for the lead rages. Pyle had finished the first 3 races in the top 15, but not going to happen today, Bob Dillner.
Well, Rick, entering this race, Robbie was 11th in points. Robbie, you look calm, cool, and collected right now, but I know you got to be frustrated inside.
Yeah, we were really wanting to finish this race. We'll finish all the races, but it's probably a little soon for me to be racing that hard, and got together with the 14 car and ended up, I think we tore up the clutch, so they're trying to get it fixed now. It's a shame. This is my car in his hometown, and we want to do good here for Atlanta Young, but see if we can get back out there and learn some stuff.
Robbie did say that they are trying to get the car back out there, but he told me a minute ago that it'll be a tough deal to get it back out in this race.
I would wish Robbie and his team well. Speaking of tough deals, how tough was it to get by Mike Garvey? It took Mike Eddy probably 25 laps of working on the one car, but Eddy is able to power by on the outside, and we've had our first lead change of the afternoon, and the 88 of Mike Eddy is out in front here in Montgomery.
And Rick, we were just watching from the in-car camera of Mike Garvey. Watch Mike Eddy here run the bottom of the racetrack. Look, he's right along the white line. That's why he's so fast right now.
Just a perfect line around this half-mile racetrack. Steve, we talked about it a little earlier. We talked about how coming in, you and I took a look at the racetrack. The drivers did too, and thought, pretty narrow, not a lot of room to run. When you walk this track, or as we did yesterday, take a golf cart around to take a look, there's a lot of room.
A lot of room. They can take evasive action if they need to. But what really struck me, Rick, was how this surface looks just like Rockingham. Very abrasive. And you know that as good as these BF Goodrich radials are, these drivers, the lap times will start to fall off, and they're just going to have to hang on, do the best job they can.
75 laps are complete here in Montgomery. Many of the drivers thought at about 75 laps they would need to pit 4 tires. Now, Eddy has not come to pit road yet. Neither has Garvey, so they evidently have cars that are working very well, as you'd expect, because they are out in front. A little further back, there's the 7 of St. Amant, the 21 of Sawinski. Kevin is 4th. Gary is 5th, lapping by the 92 car. Jerry Garman driving Carol Adamy's Chevrolet today, the 92. And there's Sawinski with St. Amant moving in on a couple of slower cars. The 09, the white car, J.C. Beatty Jr. there, and directly in front, Paul Dallenbach in the Energetics Motorsports 67 car, Wally's younger brother. So that battle between the 21 and the 7 is for position. That's for 4th spot right now. Kevin Sawinski was 2nd early. Here's St. Amant to the high side to see if he can make a move out of it. Can't close the deal and get the spot away. With lap traffic directly in front, I would think St. Amant might want to tuck in right now and just ride for a few minutes and let this thing settle down just a hair. Let's go back downstairs to Bob Dillon.
Rick, I was sitting on the wall with David Bonnet this morning, and we were talking about all the good stories that we were going to be able to talk about during this race, but that's not the case. And it went from bad to worse for David Bonnet. First the switch, and now what happened to this Dunlop car?
Well, we've lost the power steering hose now, and I hate it for everybody. We worked hard, and you know, we knew we were going to have some growing pains getting into this deal, and it's unfortunate for us. This is our third race. We're having to. Everybody else has been doing this deal, so we're just having to find small things at one time. But you know, I'd like to thank the people at Dunlop for sticking with us. We're going to get this thing right before it's all over with.
Well, we're all wishing David Bonnet the best of luck. This is the only car they have right now in their fleet.
Hopefully they'll be able to get the Caton Motorsports Chevrolet back out on the racetrack before the afternoon is done. Gary St. Amant has moved around Kevin Sawinski to take fourth spot. There's St. Amant, the 1998 ASA AC-Delco Series champion, and his wins Goodwrench Chevrolet, and he is starting to rumble, Steve Burns.
He told me the most pressure he faced, he had to qualify in the top 10 so that he could tell his wife happy birthday. But he screwed up, Rick. He said how old she was.
Oh, boy. Well, at 34, you can get away with that, generally speaking. Mike Eddy is your leader here at Montgomery. The Polar Bear looking for his first win of the 2000 season, but we're still early. More than 200 laps of action still to come. Hey, we are the front half of a live motorsports doubleheader for you today on TNN Sports. The NHRA Southern Nationals coming up to Hotlanta. The NHRA Winston Drag Racing Pros will join you this afternoon in the Advance Auto Parts Southern Nationals live 4:30 Eastern and Pacific today from Atlanta Dragway right here on TNN Sports. Mike Eddy is your leader, moving up on Rick Beebe's number 23 machine. Beebe about to go a lap down, and he is back in 19th spot. So Beebe setting a very rapid pace here in the early going. Beebe trying to hold him off. We're on board the Grease Lightning in-car camera with the 23. Eddie wiggles the eWeb21.com Chevrolet a little bit there, coming off the corner.
Hey, speaking of Earnhardt, he looked like Earnhardt coming off the corner there sideways, cock it sideways, straighten her up and go.
Eddie doing a great job with that. It allowed Mike Garvey, though, to close back in. Don't count Garvey out by any means. Would jump on board the Tecumseh Chevrolet with Mike Garvey. There he is again, laying that left front wheel down in the dirt coming off turn 4. And that is a gutsy move, I would say. Took a look there. You could see the cement patch that we talked about. Those cones down into turn 1, trying to keep drivers off of the exit of pit road as they make that move into the corner there. And some of the drivers are trying to straddle that patch, I believe, as they work their way down through. As we ride with Mike Garvey in second spot, right behind race leader Mike Eddy. Eddy, meantime, right with Rick Beebe, who is hoping to stay up and not go a lap down to the race leaders. On board the Grease Lightning camera in the 23 car down the back straightaway here at Montgomery. He, in turn, is riding directly behind another one of the drivers we've been watching, Kevin Conway, of the USAMeets.com, number 61 today. Kevin
Conway is another rookie driver, Rick. He qualified 12th, so great job by Kevin Conway in the USA Meets car.
And here you get a look back at Beebe's machine from Conway's race car. So Conway stretching it out just a little bit right now as they fight for position. Conway being shown in 18th spot, Beebe 19th, and right behind them the leaders. Those are the last couple of cars on the lead lap. Bob Dillner, the Conway team, they have struggled to get to this point, but they've got a good run going here.
Well, they certainly have, Rick. I was at the shop a little earlier this week, and Kevin actually admitted to me that he has been a little bit on edge. He didn't qualify for the last race at Hickory, and that's because he was bumped out of the non-qualifiers race. Interesting note, his team owner, Stanton Barrett, will run a car in 2 weeks at Nashville in the ASA event.
Look forward to seeing Stanton, who's got a host of experience, different forms of NASCAR racing. He's run the Truck Series, the Busch Series, and has run several Winston Cup races as well, and he's a youngster, so we'll look forward to that.
And his father was the original Skull Bandit.
Absolutely.
Drove the number 33 before Harry Gant.
That's right. He was involved in the old Hal Needham, Burt Reynolds days, way back in the early 80s. Coming up on 100 laps complete in just a couple of moments here at Montgomery as we take a look from turn 1 on Conway in the USAMeets.com machine, 61. You see there off the racetrack, running in 32nd spot at the moment. They're going to try to get the 75 car back out. Up front, it's the 88 of Mike Eddy, the 1 of Mike Garvey, and look at this, Scott Wimmer challenging for second spot in the 05. Wimmer very much in the hunt today as he goes for 3 in a row to the outside of Garvey for second as they hit turn 2. On board Garvey, looking to the right side, look at Wimmer. Wimmer has got him for second spot.
And Rick, you were just talking about Garvey putting 2 left side tires down in the dirt, and we also talked about how Wimmer was good on the outside, how he could make it work, and that's why he's won 2 races in a row.
Looking ahead from Garvey's machine down in turn 1, and Eddie, your race leader. Eddie trying to hold off the charge of the 1 and the 05, and for now at least, Wimmer has backed into 3rd spot, settled down as they continue to ride behind Rick Beebe, probably getting ready to look for a pit stop for some tires on these machines based on what we were hearing early today.
And Beebe is fighting for his life to stay in front of in front of Mike Eddy there, right behind him, and Garvey, trying to stay on the lead lap. He does not want to go a lap down, but Mike Eddy is working on the rear end of that car.
Top 3 drivers are nose to tail in turn 3. Beebe in the white car with the silver star. You're on board Beebe's machine now. He is the last car on the lead lap, a 19th spot, trying to hold off the charge there of Eddie, Garvey, and Scott Wimmer, and Gary St. Amant. You can see the yellow car a little further back in line. He rides 4th. Wimmer got up alongside Garvey. He was by Garvey momentarily, but Bob Dillner, he's decided to settle back and ride in 3rd, it looks like.
Well, if you remember, Rick, this is about the time in each of the previous 2 races that Scott Wimmer started to come to the front. Interestingly enough, I spoke to Scott yesterday, asked him about the setup of the car. He said, heck, I got the same setup in this car that I ran at Lanier and Hickory. That's pretty ironic because you got to figure, you get a 1/3 of a mile track at Hickory, a 4/10 at Lanier, and you have a big half-mile here in Montgomery.
I'm surprised you wouldn't make at least some changes to the race car to come to a place like this. We were talking off the air a few moments ago. If you're from the Northeast, you've probably seen this racetrack before. It is very much like Stafford Motor Speedway up in Connecticut, where the NASCAR Modified Tour holds forth. On board Kevin Conway's machine, watching as he gives up ground on the inside to Garvey, Eddie, and Wimmer, the top 3. And here comes Gary St. Amant. He's going to come up in there as well and move by. So Conway will drop a lap down to the leaders as they haul it off into turn 1. 100 laps are complete here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. Mike Eddy has come from 11th starting spot to lead, but there's a whole lot of ASA action still to come this afternoon. If you think things are wild on the racetrack here, be sure and stay with us on TNN tonight. That's when you'll see a ton of fury unleashed. The rider uses only one hand, the longest 8 seconds in sports. PBR Championship Rodeo tonight at 9 Eastern and Pacific only here on TNN Sports. Plenty of action on the racetrack here at Montgomery, though, this afternoon. While we were away, the 1 of Mike Garvey got going once again. He moved to the inside of Scott Wimmer and took back 2nd spot. So Wimmer in the 05 drops back to 3rd now. Your leader remains Mike Eddy. They're off the front straightaway on lap 108.
And Rick, we were watching Rick Beebe, the number 23, try to hang on, but no, they got past him. He lost a lap.
Big battle on the backstretch. Quickly, Garvey gets going. Johnny Sauter gets bumped out of the way. Mike Eddy. Whoa! Sauter down the infield. He's going to take Scott Wimmer up to the wall. Wimmer on the brakes, able to stay out of trouble. Eddy almost gave up the lead there. They ran Johnny Sauter, who was loose on the backstretch, down into the dirt, and almost a big price paid by the leader. So Eddy emerges with the lead. Amazingly, Garvey had given him the bonsai move going into 3 and almost took it from him, but Johnny Sauter got in the way of things there and really jumbled up the running order.
Yeah, Johnny Sauter about put Scott Wimmer up into Birmingham on that one. Lucky to keep him in the ballpark.
Hopefully we'll get to take another look at that as Eddy works down in turn 1 and 2 with Garvey filling his mirrors now. Wimmer had moved to 2nd. Mark E. Dismore in trouble on the backstretch. 2nd time today. The Monster.com Herzog Motorsports car. Looks like he's got a cut down right front tire. Leaders negotiating around him. Mark kind of in the middle of the racetrack. Finally drops it down onto pit road. Leaders are on the front stretch, and here's Garvey to the outside of Eddy. Garvey with some strength showing now. Nobody's stopped yet under green for tires, remember, as that battle for the lead rages on the backstretch. Paul Dallenbach gets out of the way. Show you what happened here. That's the 0-1 of Johnny Sauter wiggling. He dives it down low and went too low and right down on the grass.
And he's a teammate to the 1 car. Look at that, Scott Wimmer. How did he keep it out of the wall, Rick?
Unbelievable. He had good luck there because Sauter did not continue up and pound the wall the way I thought he was going to. I thought Johnny was going right for the fence and would have taken Wimmer along with him. They managed to both stay out of extreme trouble. Have to wonder if Johnny Sauter might not have had a tire go down as well on the backstretch, the way he wiggled and then ducked down onto the grass. Let's head downstairs and find out more from Bob Dillner.
Rick, another guy that had a tire go down is Marquis Dismore. In the middle of all that stuff, he slowed on the backstretch and did a great job of not wrecking this car. The car is on pit road right now. They have changed the right front tire. He's heading back back out. The second incident of the day for Mark Dismore.
So Dismore will be back up on the Speedway. Meantime, Gary St. Amant has moved in on the 88 and the 1. So St. Amant has taken advantage of Wimmer's problems to come to third. Very much in the hunt. 3 cars under a blanket off of turn 2. We jump on board the Tecumseh Chevrolet with Garvey.
What a battle. Look at that, Rick.
The Eaton Chevrolet of Eddie, your leader. Garvey in the 1 sits in second spot.
And St. Amant is right behind him in their tire tracks.
Want to know what happened to Scott Wimmer? He is 4th. He gathered it up, and he is right behind that group of cars, but he's about 10 car lengths back behind those 3 you see there. Dismore being pushed behind the wall. We thought a new tire would cure his problems. We'll have to check and see what the situation is now with the 44. Eddie remains out in front. Eddie's opened up 6 or 7 car lengths now over Garvey.
Rick, speaking of Mark Dismore on the 44, I watched him try to put it in gear, and it looked like he may have lost a gear when he dropped down off the jacks. We'll see what's wrong with the 44.
Difficult afternoon for the youngster. His dad, Mark Dismore, the Indy Racing League star, is here to watch today, considering a possible ASA run for a few races himself later this season. Like the most at the moment, though, Steve, has got to be Gary St. Amant. We'll take another look at what happened with Johnny Sauter. This is from Rick Beebe's rooftop camera. That's the 01 in the dirt right across the racetrack. Wow. And you're right, Steve. Wimmer did a great job to stay out of the wall in the 05 car.
It's hard to tell what happened to the 01 of Johnny Sauter. He just, as you said, the rear end started wiggling there, fishtailing, and don't know what happened to him.
Mike Eddy's best run this season at Hickory a couple of weeks ago when he finished 14th. Was never really in contention at Hickory at all. He had led a lot of laps in the season opener at Lakeland, led a lot more at Lanier. That very cold Saturday night in March, was unable to close the deal. Eddy, the dominant car at Lanier by far, got wrecked with about 125 laps to go, unable to fix the car. Eddy done for the night, but he had led the most laps of any driver after the first 3 races this season. Dominating here, although Garvey was the pole sitter and the early leader the first 67 laps. Since then, it's been all Mike Eddy's race. 180 to go at Montgomery, and we'll be back. Our coverage today of the ASA Actionline 300 is being brought to you by Grease Lightning Multi-Purpose Degreaser. Back live at Montgomery, trouble for the pole sitter today, and the early leader, Mike Garvey, has cut a tire. We believe the left front. It looks like he's got serious problems with the left front tire. I thought the right front had gone down. I think he may have broken something underneath the front end of that race car, Steve Burns.
I think you're right. I noticed as he went by us on the front stretch that the right tire was leaned the wrong way.
They do tend to run light front end parts on that car. That's not the first time we've seen Garvey have a suspension piece fail in the Tecumseh Chevrolet. So Garvey to pit road. We'll see if we can get Bob Dillner down there. We want to tell you the tire story. Many of the teams concerned about tire wear. We've had a lot of laps with no caution flags. The green stays out. We're very close to a competition yellow for the first time this year in ASA. Garvey goes behind the wall. They know they've got a lot to fix, more than just a tire down. They're going to have to jack that car and fix the front end. I believe perhaps an A-frame or a spindle is broken on that car. Garvey is going to take it a little deeper into the infield. I saw Bob heading that way. We'll try to find out just what is going on with the pole sitter's race car today. I see Bob working his way into position. They're going to pull the hood pins and get that car up on jack stands so they can figure out what gave way in the front end. Bob Dillner, what do you see down there?
Well, what we see is a frantic crew going to work on this car that was running so well. Bon Suts, the crew chief, looking over the left front right now. It looks like they have a broken left front suspension part, possibly a shock. We'll update you as soon as we know.
The way Bond was wiggling that left front wheel, I think maybe the spindle broke. They've got the wheel off. Meantime, Scott Wimmer has come back from that near miss a few moments ago. He has drawn right back up on the back deck lid of Mike Eddy's machine. This is for the lead, and we're coming to a competition yellow in 5 laps if we don't have a caution before. Now, if you're not familiar with the rule at ASA, if you run 100 green flag laps, the caution will come out to give teams a chance to come in for tires. Laps continue to count. It's just as if there were a debris caution or any other caution. It's a 5-lap competition yellow, and we're very close to that. I'm amazed, Steve Burns, as good as this racetrack is, with the pavement concerns here, it's been a very clean afternoon so far.
Yeah, and Rick, as you said, some of the drivers early were concerned about would these BF Goodrich radials fall off dramatically, and they haven't. But this is still a great rule. Bring these guys in, let them change tires. And Johnny Sauter is in trouble coming off turn 4. We talked about him wiggling. going down the front stretch now. So, again, this caution is going to come at a good time.
A lot of these teams were thinking they needed a tire change after 75 laps. They've run about 100. It will be 100 in a couple of laps. One of the great stories here this weekend, take a look at this. The 6th car. That's Dave Sensiva from Michigan. Lots of troubles, lots of difficulties. Dave won the non-qualifiers race last night. His first ever ASA win in years of trying. Started 25th. He's raced his way to 5th position as the caution comes out. We'll talk more to Dave and his crew chief a little later on. Mike Eddy is your leader. Competition yellow on the Speedway for 5 laps. The official pace car of the ASA AC-Delco Series is the Pontiac Grand Prix. And the pace car comes out to pick up the leader, Eddy. And the lead cars, no doubt, will come to pit road.
Another rule I like about the ASA, Rick, is once the caution comes out, you cannot race back to the yellow. You have got to hold your position. I think that's a great rule.
Safety uppermost, of course, in the minds of the ASA and the ASA officials and the drivers as well. The safety car is out. Eddy continuing to set the pace now. Next time around, pit road should be open. Scott Wimmer has raced his way back to 2nd. Gary St. Amant has come to 3rd. Brandon Sperling rides 4th, and 5th is Dave Sensiva. Back downstairs, though, the big story, what's happened to Mike Garvey's machine, to Bob Dillner?
Mike Garvey has gotten back into his race car. As we had speculated, it is a broken shock, and I can show you right here. There is a shim that goes inside of there. It wiggled loose, and take a look at this shock. If you can see it on the camera here, it's actually bent from when it broke and it came down. It actually bent the shock. They have one in there. Mike Garvey's going back out in a couple of laps.
But he will miss several laps, and this will most likely end his chances of victory here this afternoon at Montgomery Motor Speedway. Tough break indeed for the Minnesota veteran. Great guy. 4 times a winner 1 year ago. Unable to get on track so far here in the year 2000.
Rick, he has 2 8th-place finishes, his best finishes of the year. He had a car that could have won the race today. Everybody's on pit road.
Mike Eddy, the race leader. Scott Wimmer, Gary St. Amant, the lead group of cars. Mike Miller, Dave Sensiva, Brandon Sperling, all on pit road. Most everyone going for right side tires. Tristan Dupuis there, Russ Tuttle. Both those drivers with good runs in the top 12 here today. J.C. Beatty, Butch Miller, who raced his way from deep in the pack in the Meyer Stores Pontiac. He's come up to 6th position right behind Sensiva. Eddy is down and away, and he will undoubtedly be the restart leader of the cars, at least that have come to pit road so far. Now the lead group of cars, lead lap cars, get to come in first. The rest of the field will get to come in next, and everybody getting their service and coming back on the racetrack. Scott Hansen there you see in the 5. And look at this. Concerns. We told you at the top of the broadcast, some drivers were worried about the entrance to turn 3, the exit of turn 2, as possible places where some of the surface might be causing a problem today. It's on the middle of the backstretch where that pothole has been created. And the 05, Scott Wimmer's team, looks like that car might have fallen off the jack on pit road. They're trying to get tires put on the 05.
Oh, look at that.
And
Larry Foyt pulls right in front of him, but you're right. The 05 was just, the right front nose was sitting on the racetrack.
And Wimmer has gone a lap down, we are told. Gary St. Amant out first off pit road, so Eddy will fall in behind him and line up in 2nd spot as they take shape for the restart. Johnny Sauter's car getting serviced. He's down and away. They're still working on the 05. We'll try to get you a picture of that in a moment. We'll see if we can take a look at the work that's going on the one as Eddy is on the racetrack now, restarting and set for 2nd spot. Greg Stewart's machine there minus the front body work, the 33. Take a look at what happened to the 1 of Garvey. We're on board going down into 3. He's 2nd here, right behind Mike Eddy, and you heard the bump. Mike was able to gather it up. That left front shock gave way, as Bob Dillner showed us. The bushing inside let go on the top of the shock where it mounts to the frame of the car, and it caused the left front wheel to sort of collapse in on the frame. Mike was able to keep it off the wall, but a lot of damage, and Mike losing a couple of laps behind the wall. Wimmer's damage apparently fixed. He's down and away, but we believe he is no longer on the lead lap. We'll set it all up for you when we come back to Montgomery. At Montgomery Motor Speedway, Montgomery, Alabama, the ASA AC-Delco Series, the Actionline 300 today here on TNN Sports. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns, Bob Dillner trackside on a very, very hot day in Central Alabama. Driver J.C. Beatty had to climb out of the 09 car, and they pushed the car behind the wall. There's J.C. getting some oxygen and some water from the medical folks in attendance here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. It is very, very warm. Most of the drivers using cool suits or cool helmets or both today. We'll try to find out whether one of those might have failed in Beatty's machine. He was running well, but had to climb out of the race car, and he's being attended to now by the ASA staff and the track medical personnel. Meantime, Scott Wimmer going for 3 victories in a row today, had trouble on pit road. Bob Dillner, what happened down there?
Well, Rick, Steve, you were right. The car fell off the jack, and let me show you what happened. I just spoke to crew chief Ron Wimmer, and if we take a look at this jack right here, you can see how the edge has been nicked.
Thanks.
What the jack man did is he pushed the jack underneath the car, but it didn't get under far enough. It caught the body and ripped the side of the car. No damage to the car and the handling aspects of that car, although they will pit under the next caution to change left side tires.
Tough break, though, for Wimmer and his team, running second, challenging for the lead when the competition yellow came out. Russ Tuttle and Terry McDonald down off the jacks and off pit road. Wimmer being shown now back in 21st spot, a lap down to the leaders. So we'll see. We'll check on that when the cars cycle through once again and see whether he is, in fact, that far back and a lap down. That's a big question. Wimmer's certainly strong enough to get the lap back. We got a lot of racing to go. Not quite to halfway, about 157 trips to go. Hey, if you're looking for action on Friday night, you certainly have come to the right place. Full hour of nonstop pandemonium. You can see what happens next on ECW Wrestling Friday nights at 8 Eastern and Pacific. It's a part of TNN's Thrill Zone Friday. Wimmer back on pit road since we remain under caution here, and Wimmer is going to take on, we believe, just a bottle of water. No left side tires this time. Competition yellow about to end. The green should be coming out momentarily. We're going to take a quick timeout and come back for the restart here at Montgomery. Just short of halfway, the Action Line 300 here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. The ASA AC-Delco Series on TNN Sports. Your race leader, Gary St. Amant, first off pit road following the competition yellow. He is the leader, but Mike Eddy is second. Dave Sensiba, with excellent pit work, has come to third in that Prestige Truck Parts car number 6. As they lap by Terry McDonald Caju in car number 4, St. Amant's teammate in that Pontiac going another lap down. Butch Miller at the moment sits 5th. Tim Sauter has worked his way to 4th. Sensiba, meantime, wants to get around Mike Eddy for 2nd spot, while St. Amant has driven away from Eddy off the restart. Heat is a major story here. We showed you earlier as well, there is a hole in the racetrack on the backstretch. As St. Amant works his way down the back straightaway here, as we come to halfway, it's just past the midpoint of the backstretch. We are halfway. We've had 3 leaders, couple of lead changes, 3 cautions for 22 laps, and right now 14 drivers remain on the lead lap. Eddy is second, Sensiba in the 6th is third. A great run. He has come from 25th in very difficult personal circumstances to be very, very much a contender. And look at that, right to the inside of Eddy. Sensiba powers by for 2nd spot.
Rick, this is an inspirational story if there ever was one. As you said, Dave Sensiba has put a lot on the line financially to make this racing career work. He had a sponsor at the beginning of the year. The sponsor backed out. He's now racing on his own nickel, so to speak. And he, as we said, he has taken tremendous personal risk to try and make this racing career go.
Bob Dillner, they have got to be thrilled in Dave Sensiba's pit area.
Well, they're going to take a risk in this race, too. I just spoke to crew chief Ken Harling, and he told me despite everybody else's plans on coming in, he is going to stay out. They want this win really badly, and right now they think, although the tires are wearing a lot here in Montgomery, they think track position is very crucial.
And Sensiba is very fast. He is closing in on Gary St. Amant for the race lead with 146 trips to go. Greg Stewart continuing to circle back there. That's the car minus the front body work. Look back at Mike Eddy. He's getting a challenge now for 3rd from Tim Sauter as we watch the lead battle out of turn 4.
And Dave Sensiba there in the 6th car behind St. Amant. He has never won an ASA race, Rick, but he's been a regular competitor every year since 1994.
Taking a look a little further back in the field, the 40 of Brandon Sperling and the 11 of Tristan Dupuis battle for 9th and 10th. You're on board with Mike Garvey. Now Garvey being shown 27th, and he is being shown 9 laps down at the moment. So Mike Garvey certainly not in contention for the win, but with that shock problem problem corrected on the left front corner of the car. Very quick, working inside the 04 of Kevin Larkins and right behind the 11 of Tristan Dupuis, who has done a nice job today. Dupuis in the top 10. Mike Eddy, meantime, perhaps some problems on the 88 car. He was the leader, dominant car coming to the competition yellow. He has backpedaled quickly. He has fallen to 4th. Tim Sauter has whistled by the 88. Sauter now up in 3rd in car number 9. And Eddy back in 4th. Meantime, that battle for the lead, a good one. You saw the 2 cars go by. And here's Sauter. He wants to make it a 3-way battle here as we open up the second half of racing here this afternoon at Montgomery Motor Speedway.
And there we saw the interval from the leaders back to Tim Sauter. Gary St. Amant. You know, it's incredible. We talked about how they would adapt to this racetrack. Gary St. Amant, Tim Sauter behind him there in the interval. These guys, this is the first time they've ever been on this racetrack, Rick.
Well, these guys are pros with great skill. All of these drivers, the newcomers, are drivers who have dominated in their area short tracks in their home regions. We've told you that it is extremely hot here today. At the start of the broadcast, we told you the track temperatures were 130 degrees. There is one tough customer. Russ Tuttle had to get out of the Conseco Pontiac. They don't come any tougher than Russ Tuttle. That tells you just how hot a day it is here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. Bob Dillner?
Russ Tuttle is a tough customer, Rick, and he's got a little bit of heat stroke right now. He's been taking oxygen, and he's putting back the oxygen mask on right now. Russ Tuttle had a great run going here, qualified very well, was hoping for another top 10 this season, but right now he's suffering a little bit behind pit road.
A lot to be happy about. Russ's wife right there with him as well. They just found out recently that they're going to have their 4th child. Russ's wife is 2 months along, and we wish the Tuttle family all the best. Mike Eddy, meantime, giving ground. Here comes the 21 of Sawinski, the 18 of Mike Miller. They're going to drop Eddy back another couple of spots. Brandon Sperling, they're ganging up on him on the high side, and Eddy is going to get shuffled back to 7th spot. We need to find out what's going on. Obviously, the 88 car has developed trouble.
Yeah, they're starting to freight train him. They're going by him, you know, without any problem whatsoever, Rick. You see Brandon Sperling there on the outside. So, and he's dropped to the inside, it looks like.
Yeah, Mike definitely just trying to get out of the way of the faster cars at the moment. Now, don't count him out. That car is still pretty much on pace, and Eddie's still in the top 10. But he was a dominant car coming to that caution on lap 146, the competition caution here this afternoon. Ricky Johnson in the 22, Scott Hansen in the 5. Haven't talked much about either of those cars today. They're running 8th and 9th, so Eddie at the moment being scored in 7th spot. Garvey quick enough to run up there with that group, and here comes Johnson around Eddie. He's going to take another spot away from the 7-time ASA champion.
Hey, remember at Hickory, Rick, we took a look at Ricky Johnson's hand after the race. He had 2 screws in his left thumb. Bob Dillner said he had surgery the other day to take those screws out, and the doctor couldn't find one of them.
That's right.
It said Ricky was awake and watching the entire procedure. Not me, man.
Former Supercross champion, former off-road truck champion, trying to make his mark in 4-wheel competition on pavement. Let's find out more about Russ Tuttle and the heat situation here today. Back to Bob Dillner.
Well, we're down here with Russ Tuttle, and we know he's okay because he took the time to put his Conseco hat on. Russ, you had a problem yesterday that you found out with the car a little carbon monoxide coming in this car.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I hate it for Conseco and for all my guys on this Conseco team and Mountain Dew and Tyson. It's just, we had a problem yesterday, and I've got a sinus infection and been taking Dynatap and everything I can think of I just can't breathe through my nose. And starting to get the congestion in my throat, and then I started sucking in that carbon monoxide, and I just couldn't go. And we had a really good car, you know, we were running up in the top 10 or 12. And, you know, we had a car that could win the race. But Joey Clan's a good driver, and he'll get in there for us, and we'll get some good points out of the day. But like I said, I just hate it for Conseco, Mountain Dew, Tyson, AFCO, everybody that helps us out here.
And you know, Rick, Russ Tuttle, as you said, he's one tough guy. He's the Deputy Chief of Investigation for Marion County in Indiana, and he's so stout he doesn't need handcuffs.
No, he definitely doesn't need them. He is a guy to make friends with, absolutely. There's your lead battle. St. Amant in the 7 is on point right now, and right behind him the 6 of Dave Sensiba in 2nd spot. Sensiba has come from 25th to run 2nd here this afternoon at Montgomery. Everybody trying to figure out how to beat the heat in Alabama. We'll be back. Back live at Montgomery Motor Speedway. One of the ASA officials waving the flag, the orange flag with the yellow stripes, to indicate there is oil on the racetrack up in turn 3 and 4. Dave Sensiba, the call went out that Sensiba had a problem. He went way high on the racetrack, and while we were trying to figure out whether Sensiba might have had a tire cut down, several other cars had trouble in that same vicinity, so evidently someone put moisture down on the track. The worst damage of all, Sensiba had the front end knocked out from under the 6 car a little bit, although he has stayed on track and is being shown 4th. He was 2nd, but Mike Garvey's afternoon, I believe, is over. Garvey hammered the wall a good shot with the Tecumseh Chevrolet, so even though they worked hard to fix that car and get him back on the racetrack 9 laps down, and Garvey was as quick as the leaders once again, his afternoon appears to be over. Kevin Conway spun up there, and the track workers are now up between 3 and 4 trying to figure out what's wrong there and try to get it fixed.
And Gary St. Amant almost put it in the wall, too.
Sure did. Leaders on pit road, including St. Amant, who is the race leader. Mike Eddy catches a break, I believe, Bob Dillner, because he needed a pit stop.
A very lucky break for early race leader Mike Eddy, and they are going to work on the rear end of the car right now. They're going to change both rear tires. I spoke to crew chief Doug Smokestack, and he told me they thought they had a right rear going down. They were going to come in under green. They got a lucky break here. Also on pit road, Gary St. Amant. I spoke to crew chief Bill McGinnis. He told me this won't be the last pit stop they make today.
So they will expect to need tires somewhere in the next 123 laps. They will want fresh tires, evidently, for the run to the checkered flag today. And this is only the 4th caution of the afternoon, so it has been a very safe afternoon. Dave Sensiba's crew with the hood up on the 6 car. Sensiba with a little bit of damage there on the left front corner, but it doesn't look like anything serious. This, though, is a serious problem when they have to go under the hood.
Rick, we've talked about, since Hickory, how Dave Sensiba is struggling to keep his career alive. He was running in the 2nd position and now having problems on pit road.
Still trying to get Sensiba's car down and away and back on the racetrack, still working, trying to refire it. Take a look here at what happened. This is in the entrance to 3. There's Gary St. Amant wiggling. You can see the dark line low on the racetrack there. St. Amant able to get the car saved, even though he was way up in the marbles when that happened. Johnny Sauter had trouble a moment before, and we saw Dave Sensiba have serious trouble up there. There's what Mike Garvey got into, the wall.
And he must have hit the same fluid that everybody else hit, Rick.
And we'll take a look from Kevin Conway's onboard camera, the USAMeats.com machine, as they come down the back straightaway. Backs out into 3. There you see Garvey in front of him hitting the wall, and Conway spins on the low side. Able to woe it down before hitting anything, but certainly a moment you don't want to have on the racetrack.
Yeah, I don't know where that fluid came from, but, we looked up and all of a sudden cars were spinning and sliding, and luckily, except for Garvey, nobody hit the wall.
So we'll reset for you. Oh, no, Sensiba going behind the wall with a window net down. Garvey out of the Tecumseh machine. So Bob will go and check on the situation with Dave Sensiba. A great run for a driver who needs a victory, apparently is not going to go much further today. Brandon Sperling will be the restart leader, it appears, when we're ready to go green in a moment. Our exclusive coverage of the ASA Actionline 300 is being brought to you today by Eagle One Car Appearance Products, for the look you dream about. Under caution here at Montgomery, a reminder that wrenchhead.com is your online automotive superstore with millions of replacement parts, performance parts, and accessories, and free shipping at wrenchhead.com. Parts online all the time at wrenchhead.com. Still under caution, all that moisture up in turns 3 and 4 being cleaned up. We'll be ready to go in a few moments, but one driver who may not be ready to go is Dave Sensiba, as we watch Brandon Sperling, who will be the restart leader. Bob Dillner, what's wrong under the hood of the 6 car?
Well, Dave Sensiba definitely won't be ready to go for a little while. And Dave, you knew that this problem was happening because you had some warning signs. Tell me about it.
Yeah, the car started vibrating about 10 before we finally let go, and upper A-arm broke. Track's pretty rough coming apart back there, and they're running in the hole. It got, to the upper A-arm, broke a ball joint. But, we're going to try to get it going and get back out there. But I'd like to thank Gainey Transportation. They jumped on board for the race, and Bissell giving us a hand in Prestige Truck Accessories.
Incredible run for a guy that doesn't have a lot of money for this car, though.
Yeah, it really is. We had to run the last chance. We had electrical problems all day. We learned a lot last night, and we come from the back up to the front, so we were real happy.
Great drive for Dave Sensiba, 25th to 2nd, and he was strong. He was about to challenge for the lead when that upper A-arm came apart on the back straightaway. We showed you the hole that has developed down by the gate that leads out of the infield here at Montgomery. Montgomery. We'll try to get another look at it. Brandon Sperling, another driver who needs a great run. His team, it would be poetic justice, certainly, Steve, if the Denny Crookston team won here this afternoon. Not only do they need it, but this race probably wouldn't have happened unless Denny Crookston had been here. He is a concrete contractor, and he oversaw the repair work that was done yesterday that allowed the first turn to be repaired and racing to start. Qualifying last night and then racing here today.
Right, they're out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, and he did supervise that concrete repair. But, you know, he's funding this team out of his own pocket right now as we see that hole there on the backstretch as the Pontiac pace car goes by. And Tracy Goodson told Bob that that was going to happen in that part of the racetrack. There's the patch that Denny Crookston helped fix yesterday down there in turn 1. Talked about Denny Crookston. They are funding that race team out of their own pocket. And Brandon Sperling there in the number 40 car does not know how much longer they can continue to keep racing. They have one race car, one engine, and so far Brandon, who is second in points, has had a tremendous season, but they have a volunteer crew. They pay their own way from Michigan. Those guys are dedicated racers that want to help Brandon Sperling.
Talked about the heat many times this afternoon. Stanton Barrett's going to make his ASA debut a little earlier than normal. There's Kevin Conway. He is out of the 61, and Stanton Barrett has jumped into that race car. So Stanton, who is heavily involved in the ownership of that team, is going to take over and try to bring the 61 car home here this afternoon. And certainly Brandon Sperling hoping to bring home a victory for the 40 team here today. But they've got a lot to overcome, not just the funding difficulties that have beset that team this year. The 04 of Kevin Larkins behind the wall as well. The heat and the track that's breaking up in some places, causing everyone to really rethink their situation here with 115 laps remaining. The 40. Brandon Sperling is your leader. Chad Wood in the deuce is second. Here comes Scott Wimmer. Now Wimmer is not on the lead lap. He is 13th, one lap down. He's going to try to race his way up and challenge and get by the 40 car and get back on the lead lap, and he may be able to do it. He is quick.
Yeah, we saw Todd Bodine do that in the Winston Cup race last night. Hop in for his brother Jeffrey and make those laps up. So Scott Wimmer can do it. He can make that lap up and go back for the win.
Plenty of time left here. We've got more than 100 laps of racing. Take a look back. Tim Sauter, the defending series champ. Gary St. Amant, Mike Miller. They're going to freight train Chad Wood and drop him out of the top 5 here very quickly. Jerry Garman in the 92 car, several laps down. The Carroll Adamy machine being driven today by Garman, the Dorothy Lynch salad dressing Chevrolet out of Nebraska. There's the 9 of Sauter. Now he is running second, and Wimmer trying to get by on the high side, get by Sauter, and also get by Garman. Now Garman has spun a couple of times. Larry Foyt has spun, or at least has gotten up into the marbles and perhaps hit the wall. He's going to stop on the racetrack. Here comes Wimmer. Gary St. Amant getting in the middle of that one. The caution will wave, and Wimmer will get by. So Larry Foyt in trouble for the second time this afternoon. Great young driver. Everyone loves to have him in the series. The A.J. Foyt Butch Miller Pontiac with Harris on the side. Trouble, though, for that team here this afternoon. So we're under caution once again. This will be the 5th caution of the afternoon. Bob Dillner checking things out in the Crookston Motorsports pit area. What do they think, Bob? Is Brandon set to go the rest of the way?
Well, he could be. I just spoke to crew chief Cole Chitty, and he said this car is very, very good on long runs. They are not having a problem with tires despite the heat conditions here. As far as Scott Wimmer goes, I spoke to Cole, and he said if the 05 comes up, the car's not worth it. They'll let him go. Let Wimmer get back on the lead lap. And Chitty is a very smart guy, isn't he, Steve? He works at Hendrick Motorsports, and I know you can tell us a lot about that.
Absolutely, Bob. He works in the R&D shop at Hendrick Motorsports with Eddie Dickerson there. And it's a great story because Cole essentially works at the shop full-time. And Brandon told me that on Friday night, he waited for Cole to get off of work at 6 o'clock. They hopped in a pickup truck, drove all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina down here. It's about an 8.5-hour drive. And he's not paid, Rick. Cole Chitty is just helping Brandon so that he can further his racing career.
Loves to come to the racetrack. All these guys do. A lot of drivers taking advantage of the caution to come to pit road, but the leaders will stay out. Larry Foyt's car will come in on the hook. Trouble, too, for the Paw Island Chevrolet. We'll sort it all out in a moment. Live at Montgomery Motor Speedway, Montgomery, Alabama, the ASA AC-Delco Series on TNN Sports, the Actionline 300. Today, I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns. Bob Dillner on pit road today. A guy who doesn't need to lose weight, but I'm sure he'll have lost 15 or 20 pounds by the time the checkered flag falls because the track temperatures here are upwards of 130 degrees. Great run today for veteran Mike Miller in the 18 car. He will restart third behind Gary St. Amant and race leader Brandon Sperling. And Steve, Mike Miller working with a little different situation up in the grandstands in the spotter section today.
Yep, Mike's son, Tom, you see there in the middle, the redhead, he's 20 years old. He's an engineering student in Clemson, has taken over for Pat Hyland. Now, Carl Hyland is Mike Miller's crew chief. His brother Pat had a heart attack, but we're told that he is resting well. He's out of the hospital, and Mike Miller said that he had even thought about bringing him to the track this week, but the doctor told him to take it easy. Now, in the beginning of the race, Mike Miller said, I want to say hi to my wife and daughter. His daughter, Andrea, is in India. She's a financial analyst.
Wow.
And Mike's wife, Judy, is over there visiting her.
Gosh. World travelers. That is great. The 34 car back down pit road for Wayne Lemon. The car of Mike Miller will restart third behind Gary St. Amant. That's Miller's Janet King Pontiac. And he will line up right behind Gary St. Amant. Dave Sensiba has fixed his machine, and he's back coming around from behind the pit wall onto pit road. Looks like the Prestige Truck Accessories Pontiac will be able to rejoin the show here for the last 105 laps, although unfortunately Dave has missed several laps, so he will not be a contender today. Right now being shown 25th, about 17 laps down. So Dave Sensiba, who started 25th, got up to second spot before the problems with the upper A-arm in that machine. He is going to be able to come back out and try to finish here this afternoon. Still under caution, getting things sorted out after Larry Foyt got into the wall over on the second turn side. Folks in the refreshment stand might have one of the cooler jobs here today at Montgomery. We'll be back. Today's TNN coverage of the ASA Actionline 300 is being brought to you by Grease Lightning Multi-Purpose Degreaser. Back live at Montgomery Motor Speedway, Montgomery, Alabama, the Actionline 300. If you're an ASA stock car fan, be sure and check out Actionline. It is the official newspaper of the American Speed Association. You can find out how to subscribe by checking out the TNN website, country.com, and also the ASARacing.com website. That's the official website of the American Speed Association, ASARacing.com. Back under green, Scott Wimmer in the 05 trying to make the move around Gary St. Amant and get close to getting his lap back, get back on the lead lap for the final 100 here, but couldn't do it. Wimmer slipping up high. St. Amant really on the button as he rides in second spot. Your leader, the red 40 of Brandon Sperling. The 92 machine is several laps down. That's Jerry Garman's car. He's back in 18th spot. A couple of laps to the leaders in arrears, but very quick at the moment. St. Amant in the yellow number 7 there is second. And Mike Miller in the 18 is up to third. And talk about a guy who is well equipped to do battle on a day like this. It is veteran Mike Miller from Georgia. Been around a long time, 52 years young. Sperling, meantime, with age as the advantage for him and plenty of skill. He's got his hands full, though, with the 1998 ASA champ Gary St. Amant, and St. Amant blows by on the inside.
Hey, and Brandon Sperling's in pretty good shape himself. He's well equipped. He and his father also have a small concrete business, and Brandon works out in the gym 5 days a week. Matter of fact, he works out with P.J. Jones, he was telling me, at a gym in Mooresville.
So a lead change. St. Amant is back in front. Sperling drops to second. Mike Miller is third in the 18. And St. Amant starting to pull away now. So this could be the story of the final 100 laps. Scott Wimmer still trying to get up and get back on the lead lap. A little further back, Scott Hansen rides fourth. Butch Miller is fifth. And Mike Eddy is back to sixth. After leading a lot of this race in the middle, Eddy got some good pit work. They fixed the rear tire problems Mike was having. He had dropped back as far as 12th. And he has used good pit strategy, timely pit work, and a very quick race car to get back into contention here. Less than 100 to go.
Yeah, well, he's a veteran. He didn't panic when they had problems, Rick. They fixed whatever they needed to. And now he's just out there riding into the 6th position, and he could be a factor, as you said, before this thing's over.
Miller, Eddy, and Hansen between them accommodate, I believe it would be 10 ASA championships, several hundred race victories everywhere in the country. In ASA competition, just doing the arithmetic off the top of my head, I would say in the neighborhood of 100 race wins in this series.
Oh, you're good, Rick. Mike Eddy has 57 wins. Butch Miller has 39.
Close.
Oh, man.
Not bad for the back of the envelope.
I hear you.
Butch Miller to the inside of the 92 car. Butch has turned in an excellent ride today. He is fourth. Eddy now is fifth. Hansen on the outside getting shuffled back to sixth. Don't count either of these great veterans out. The Meyer Stores Pontiac from Leroy Throop Stables for Butch Miller. Butch has come from pretty deep in the field today, qualified at 16th spot, and he's raced his way to 4th. Remember at Hickory, we talked about how Butch Miller had won a NASCAR Busch Series event there. Look at Eddie bolt to the outside. Mike Eddy wants the spot for Miller, and he's got it. Just drove around him going into 3.
That was impressive to do it on the outside, Rick.
The track has to be greasy at this stage of the afternoon with less than 100 laps to go on a very, very hot day. And Eddie not worried at all about the grip on the racetrack.
No, you were talking about Butch Miller winning a Busch race at Hickory. He also won in the NASCAR Truck Series, won in everything but the Winston Cup circuit. And he knows how to run these tracks. He knows how to save his tires. He knows how to run consistent lap times. And he just kills them with consistency.
Butch Miller, though, settling in now behind Eddie back in 5th. Just didn't have enough to hold off Eddie. And now's the time. If Butch was going to be a contender today, I would have expected that he would have given Eddie more of a run for his money, but elected not to. The 3-time champion has been on the pole 36 times in his ASA career, coming back to the series full-time this year. Also co-owns Larry Foyt's car, driving as part of Leroy Throop's 2-car entry. He and Greg Usher making up that team this year. Your leader continues to be Gary St. Amant in car number 7. 89 laps to go. Mike Miller, Brandon Sperling, Mike Eddy, the top 4. Bob Diller at this point. St. Amant looks as though he's got as good a shot at anybody as carrying away the win today.
That crew doesn't know if they're going to have to stop for tires once more. They still do have, 80 some odd laps to go. So that's a guess. But, you know, this isn't the first time that Gary has seen this track. Back in 1975, when he was 11 years old, he sat in the grandstands and watched Neil Bonnet win his first race at that time from Bobby Allison. I asked him what's different from the track from then till now. He says, well, it's a lot prettier right now.
He also took pictures sitting in the grandstands and watched the race. Of course, he was here to watch his dad, Bud St. Amant. And Darrell Waltrip was in that race as well.
Boy, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? Mike Eddy on the charge in car number 88. Just dropped Brandon Sperling back a spot. I'll tell you, Eddie is going to have something to say about this one before the checkered flag falls. Eddie is 3rd and back on the button. Running all alone out of turn 4. He just dropped around Sperling like he was tied to a tree, and he has set sail now. Next in his gun sights will be Mike Miller's 18 car. Miller a good 15 car lengths ahead in the middle of the backstretch as we move the camera down toward turn 3 to show you the 2nd place car and driver Mike Miller. Miller working around side the car along the deuce of Chadwood, and we'll go up and take a look where Gary St. Amant is. There's St. Amant working in front of Wayne Lemons, 34. That's the 7 of St. Amant, your race leader. He's been out in front for the last 30 or 40 laps. Well, we've got a lot of racing yet to come. 85 trips to go here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. The ASA AC-Delco Series on TNN. It's the Actionline 300. We have got a lot more American Speed Association action coming your way here on TNN Sports. In 2 weeks, we'll be at Nashville Speedway, USA for the BF Goodrich 300. Airtime is 2 o'clock Eastern and Pacific time live here on TNN Sports Nashville. A great racetrack and a great track for the ASA Stars. Looking forward to getting over there once again, visiting everybody in the Music City and our home city on TNN. Gary St. Amant is your race leader. Less than 80 remaining, and Gary is all alone. He's about 10 car lengths ahead of the 18. We'll see Mike Miller. There he is in 2nd spot. St. Amant has really gotten it going here in the last 50 or 60 laps. He has been the dominant car since about lap 175. Now we'll take a look a little further back. Mike Eddy has gotten very quick once again in the 88. Now he's got a long way to go. But don't be surprised if there's another caution or two before the afternoon is done. Remember, track temperatures very, very high, upwards of 130 degrees. And that can lead to trouble. Brandon Sperling in the 40. We've had several drivers drop out due to heat exhaustion here today. We've had 3 or 4 drivers go behind the wall. It has been very, very hot indeed. And how about the 9? Tim Sauter still looking for his first win of the season. The defending series champion right in front of Kevin Sawinski as they battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. And Bob Diller, what's the thinking down there in the 9 pit?
Well, right now, Tim Sauter going underneath the number 40. I spoke to crew chief Mike Chaffee because I've been watching this car, and they are definitely one of the quickest on the track. I am in the middle of turns 3 and 4. He's got this car hooked. He pitted on lap 191 with Kevin Sawinski. He will not pit again. Some of these other guys that are in front of him may come in, so Tim Sauter could win his first race of the year here in Alabama.
75 to go, and Timmy rides 4th right now with Sawinski. Now remember, Sawinski pitted, as Bob said, with Sauter. The restart came on lap 199. Sawinski has picked up 5 spots from 11th to 6th. So the 21 car, they may have the setup that they've been looking for in that car. And here's Sawinski to the inside. He bumps into Sauter as they come off the corner. Both keep it straight. Sauter will reestablish control as they battle for that position for 4th spot down in turns 1 and 2. That is a dandy battle between those two drivers.
And Rick, boy, you got to pull for a guy like Tim Sauter. Here's the defending series champion. He works at the shop. You know, during the week, he puts the car together himself, and then, as we said, loaded up the truck and drove it 15 hours to Montgomery, Alabama, and that's a dedicated racer.
You bet it is. Mark E. Dismore back on pit road in the Herzog Chevrolet, the 44, the Monster.com car. He's been on and off pit road a couple of times for unscheduled service today. This battle for 4th is the best on the racetrack right now. Watch Mike Eddy in 3rd, rolling by. Sauter with his mirrors full of the Lefebvre 21 of former champion Kevin Sawinski, who ran on the Craftsman Truck Series the last couple of years. Came back to ASA full-time this season and is happy to do so. And there's Ricky Johnson in the 22. He has quietly climbed into 6th. So a good run for the former motorcycle champion. Last year's ASA Pat Shara Rookie of the Year in the Nationwide Auction System Chevrolet. Ricky putting a good run together today. Started 9th, up to 6th. High there coming off turn 2, but able to maintain speed and gain ground. He is closing in on the 21, the 88, and the 9.
He's also 4th in the point standings right now, Rick. And, you know, he's got 2 top 5 finishes. So, you know, he wants to be a factor in the championship race. Sure. You said he was Rookie of the Year. He wants to be a factor in the championship.
Sawinski, Sauter, and Eddy now nose to tail. Eddy is 3rd, Sauter 4th, Sawinski 5th. And this battle has allowed the leaders, St. Amant and Mike Miller, to continue to pull away. Now, St. Amant is caught in lap traffic over in turn 2, and Mike Miller has used that to gather up some distance. And look at this, down into 3. There's St. Amant, your leader. Look a little behind him, and you'll see the 2nd place car of Mike Miller. So Miller having things well figured out today. St. Amant's got a lot of cars to deal with. Less than 70 to go. On board Kevin Conway's USABeats.com machine. Conway out of the car. Stanton Barrett driving the car right at the moment. And here's the battle for 2nd directly ahead. The 4 car back out there. Terry McDonald had to get out of that car. She was overheated. There is a relief driver, we believe, in the Goodwrench Pontiac. The battle for the lead. St. Amant in the yellow wins Goodwrench number 7. The Janiking Pontiac of Miller rides in 2nd spot with 67 to go.
And Mike Miller, he may not care about the heat. He's over 50 years old, but he lives in Woodstock, Georgia. So this is a day in the park for him.
And the battle you see there between the 11 of Tristan Dupuis and the 11 of the 0 of Tracy Goodson, that's for 10th spot. They're the last cars on the lead lap. Dupuis trying to stay on the lead lap. Goodson goes a lap down. Here's Miller now. Dupuis gets out of the way. St. Amant, as Dupuis moves to the high side, will maintain the lead. Miller will close right in on the back deck lid of the 7 car.
And Mike Miller is great right now between turns 3 and 4, Rick. That's where he's really making up the time on the 7 of St. Amant.
Leaders up on the backstretch on this very, very hot May Sunday. Bob Dillner, how warm is it down where you are?
It is very hot down here, Rick. In fact, I've been carrying around this barometer for a long time, and I wanted to show you how hot the track temperature is. I'll measure it here on the road behind pit road. 130 degrees. I have had readings up to 136. What does that mean? Obviously, it's very hot inside these cars. I've seen some of the cars, guys actually get out of the cars, including Terry McDonald Caju. She is actually back in that car. Robbie Pyle was going to get in, but obviously Robbie's a pretty tall guy. Terry as well, she's a little shorter. And another reason why this is so important is as the track gets hotter, it's going to get greasier. The tires are going to slip on the pavement, and these guys are going to be hanging on for the ride near the end of this race.
Battling for the lead in 3 and 4, working by Greg Usher's lap 45 car. It is still St. Amant and Miller. You're not thinking of the heat if you're driving one of these two race cars. You're thinking, how do I stay in front of this guy? How do I catch this guy and grab my first victory of the season? Gary St. Amant is the point leader. He won the season opener at Lakeland at USA International back in the month of March. Mike Miller slips up high coming off turn 4. Gives up a lot of ground to St. Amant. So Miller with a little bobble in the turn there. Tire wear could be an issue. Now, these two cars have gone a long time on this particular set of BF Goodrich radials, and a tire stop may be needed by the two lead cars. Coming up on 60 to go, St. Amant for the moment is in command. We're going to take a quick timeout and come right back to Montgomery Motor Speedway. Plenty of great short track racing coming your way here on TNN Sports. Next weekend to the Action Track, Terre Haute, Indiana, for the Pennzoil World of Outlaws. It's Winged Thunder, America's best sprint car stars, May 13th, 9 o'clock Eastern and Pacific, right here on TNN Sports. Great racetrack, super wide, super fast. The Outlaws put on a wonderful show there, and Ralph Shaheen will have the call for you next weekend. Mike Miller on the racetrack. He is right now at the head of the pack with Mike Eddy. Looks like those will be the cars that want to come to pit road. Gary St. Amant, the race leader, staying out on the high side. See if some of these drivers will duck down. That caution for Tristan Dupuis, who spun up between turns 3 and 4, running 11th. And Mike Miller, Mike Eddy, Ricky Johnson comes to pit road. The 21 of Stawinski. This is the battle for 4th spot. Brandon Sperling, Scott Hansen, all to pit road. Bob Dillon.
Well, I'm very surprised to see Kevin Stawinski actually come in, because they thought that they were going to go the rest of the way. Here in Mike Eddy's pit, they are changing right side tires. Mike says the car is great. Don't touch it. As far as Mike Miller, that car is very loose, as you did mention, Rick. He got 2 right side tires as they had planned. They should be good to go from here on out.
Heading off pit road, Mike Miller with quick service on that 18. That crew, Carl Hyland leads that crew. They do a great job. Several members of that team have been ASA All-Star pit crew members the last several years. Great job getting tires on that machine, getting them down and away. Mike Eddy's crew, Doug Smokestad, the crew chief there, to get the 88 car back on the racetrack as we take a look at the official pace car of the ASA AC-Delco Series, that Pontiac Grand Prix. Another group of cars coming onto pit road, led by Rick Beebe, Jerry Garman, the 0 of Tracy Goodson. Blue Dolphin Racing Pontiac on pit road. Tristan Dupuis comes down on pit road. Stanton Barrett wheeling the USA Meets 61. The Noah Yoder Ford of Jack Landis. Haven't spoken much about Jack today. He has had a good day. Started deep in the field, has come up through, and is up in the top 15 at the moment. In fact, sitting 11th. We'll show you what happened to Dupuis a few moments ago. As we get close to 50 to go, this is on board the 61 car with Stanton Barrett driving. We'll look ahead toward turn 3. And see Tristan Dupuis get up a little high. Just the back end got away from him, it looks like, and he was able to spin the car, touched the wall, didn't do heavy damage to it, and he is on pit road. Had some service work done back up on the racetrack. Several other cars getting tires for the run to the checkered flag, but as Steve Burns pointed out to me a moment ago, the race leader Gary St. Amant decided not to. We'll find out why when we come back. 7 laps remain in the Action Line 300 here at ASA AC-Delco Series action, Montgomery Motor Speedway in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm Rick Benjamin. Steve Burns and Bob Dillon are alongside today, live here on TNN Sports. The battle for the lead. The 7 of Gary St. Amant is your leader. The 9 of defending series champ Tim Sauter is second. Those 2 cars on the lead lap did not pit the last time, just a few moments ago when we had that caution. All the rest of the lead lap cars and the cars 1 lap down came in for their final tire stops. I'm surprised, Bob Dillon, what caused Gary St. Amant to stay on the racetrack?
Well, they fooled even us, because Bill McGowan, the crew chief here, he thought he was going to come in. We're going to try to have a word with Bill. You surprised us. What's happening?
Well, we just took a gamble. Gary said he wasn't working the car real hard yet, so if I looked at the tire wear the first time, we're pretty sure we can go all the way and see what happens.
Actually, Gary St. Amant right now, if you look at him, he is a little bit loose in the corners. Should it be interesting to see if he can hold off Tim Sauter, who has about 25 to 30 laps fresher tires.
Sauter, though, unable to stay up on the back deck lid of the 7 car now as Gary slides the 7 just a little bit coming off turn 2. The wins Good Wrench Chevrolet. St. Amant won the season opener back at Lakeland in March. And he is the point leader right now. And although he is looking for his second win of the season, Scott Wimmer not a factor here since Wimmer went a lap down. We'll take a look and see where the 05 is. He's being shown 14th. He is 2 laps down right now. So Scott Wimmer's bid to win 3 straight apparently is finished here this afternoon. Here's your second place driver, the 18 of Mike Miller, the Janet King Pontiac. Make that 3rd for Miller. The second place car, the 9 of Tim Sauter, right behind St. Amant. And then the 18 of Miller quite a ways back, about 2 seconds behind this lead battle at the moment.
And I tell you what, Rick, if Gary St. Amant holds on to win this race, he will have earned his paycheck, because to not take tires, I mean, new tires almost always beat old tires.
At the moment, these 2 drivers have stayed out, as we told you, in the last caution, the last opportunity perhaps today to get fresh rubber. Although Sauter had made his final stop to this point more recently than had St. Amant. Bob Dillon told you a few moments ago, about 30 laps the difference. And that is a significant difference, generally speaking, in stock car racing. So you'd think that Sauter would have a better handling race car at this point, but St. Amant doing a great job. And the one thing I've been impressed with Gary, as we watched him last year and now this season, Steve, he's not the 98 Series champion here in ASA for any reason that doesn't make sense. He's very smooth on the racetrack, quick everywhere, and hardly ever puts a wheel wrong.
No, he's a very smart race car driver, as you said, Rick. And, you know, the other thing to consider is the 9 car of Tim Sauter right behind St. Amant. He might just be riding. You know, he might just be letting St. Amant work even harder, ride in there behind him, and, you know, with 10, 12 laps to go, then really make a move on him.
Now, if we can hold here a second and show you the top 3 cars as they work out of turn 4 with 39 to go. There's Mike Miller. Think he's closing the gap? How about this? He's cut the lead down from 2.6 to 1.1 seconds in the space of just 7 laps. So Mike Miller may well have the quickest car on the racetrack right now. He has cleared lap traffic to 16. Relief driver in that machine right now for Russ Tuttle. And Mike Miller is drawing a bead on the 9 of Tim Sauter.
And of course, Mike Miller did take right side tires. So again, you know, Rick, almost always new tires will beat old tires.
Talk about a guy who wants to win, and he wants to beat Tim Sauter to the flag. It will be Mike Miller. Remember that he lost the championship to Sauter last year by 6 points in the final race of the season in Orange County in North Carolina. Miller 3rd, wants 2nd, away from the 9 of Sauter. The leader, St. Amant, pulling away as the laps wind down here in Montgomery.
Yeah, and Miller's going to go by Sauter. Yep, there he drops to the inside.
Miller eases to the inside in 3 and grabs the 2nd position as the race draws toward the conclusion here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. So give Mike Miller 2nd spot. Tim Sauter drops to 3rd, the 16 several laps down. 4th right now belongs to Kevin Sawinski of the 21, who's had a good afternoon. They have had some adversity to overcome. There's Sawinski and the LeFevre Chevrolet down the back straightaway, but he's running all alone, trying to hang on with Mike Eddy closing in on him. There's Eddy in the 88 car running 5th, wants 4th as we get close to 30 to go. Downstairs to Bob Dillon.
Well, Rick, Kevin Sawinski says the car is junk. It's the best they've had it all day today, and that's why he came in that last round of pit stops. He needed tires because crew chief Brian Dantine told me they are wearing tires big time. So they came in, but right now he's just holding on. Brian Dantine says if they get a top 5 finish, they're going to be very, very happy.
Now they're in position to do that right now. The 21 car sitting for it. Look at this. Here's Mike Miller knocking on the back door of Gary St. Amant's machine into 3. Miller will use the low side, but St. Amant says not yet. He gets back in front, pulls down, uses the 92 as a pick, and a caution is waving on the speedway. So now what do you do if you're Gary St. Amant? Do you try to take right side tires here with, what do we have, about 33 laps remaining? Or do you refuse to give up the track position with the 2nd place driver right behind you?
Ooh, boy, I tell you what, Mike Miller was eating him up in a hurry, and if that lap car wasn't in front of them in turn 4, I think Mike would have had him. So, you know, the question for Gary St. Amant is, you know, how many cars are on the lead lap? We'll check scoring here in a second, but if he comes in now, he'll go to the tail end of the first of the cars on the lead lap. We have 9 cars are being told on the lead lap, so he would restart 9th.
As we are under caution, the safety car is out. Leaders form up behind the 7 of St. Amant. trying to see what the call is, why the caution waived here as we come up on 30 laps to go of the 300 here this afternoon. Perhaps some debris on the track, but hard to say. St. Amant in the 7 is your leader. The 18 of Miller is second. Tim Sauter, Kevin Sawinski, and Mike Eddy, the rest of the top 5. We'll take a quick timeout and come back to get you to the checkered flag. Still under caution at Montgomery Motor Speedway, Montgomery, Alabama. The ASA AC-Delco Series here on TNN Sports. Gary St. Amant is your leader. They have 29 laps to go, and apparently they've decided to keep him out there and not take tires late. I'll show you what happened. It was the 92, Jerry Garman driving Carol Adamy's car today. He spun down in turns 3 and 4. That's the aftermath. We'll show it to you from the onboard USAMeets.com camera. Garman went right around, got the car pointed in the right direction, quick 360, back underway, but that caused everybody to woe up. Some gravel, it appears, went up on the racetrack, so they've swept that clean, and now we should be set to go here if the restart comes any moment now. We'll have about 27, 28 laps to settle things, and we've been debating whether the 7 car would come in for a couple of tires. It looks like they have decided to leave Gary St. Amant out there.
Yeah, and I guess from what Bob Dillner said, crew chief Bill McGowan was second-guessing himself too, but he's going to stay out there.
Well, he's cooled the tires down at least with that 5 or 6 laps under caution. 26 to go. Here comes Sauter. Here comes Miller. Down into 1. It's still St. Amant. We are back underway. Sawinski to the high side. He is 4th. Eddy is 5th. Up onto the backstretch. St. Amant hanging on for a moment. Right before the yellow came out, Mike Miller was about to pass St. Amant for the lead, but look at this. Gary able to take advantage with a good start when the green waved. He's got 5 car lengths on Miller again.
And Rick, I think you're right. That caution was a break for Gary because it did allow those tires to cool down. But now the question is, how long till Mike Miller pulls up on the rear bumper?
Eddy is right in the thick of this one, as is Sawinski. Ricky Johnson is up to 6th there in the blue and white 22, and Butch Miller is 7th. This the battle for the lead. St. Amant in the 7, Miller in the 18. They're into 1. Sauter rides 3rd, Sawinski 4th, 5th to Eddy. Lap traffic is gone. The leaders have open racetrack in front. And Eddy to the inside, leans on Sawinski for 4th. Sawinski comes back at him on the high side, but can't get the job done. Give Eddy 4th spot. Wild pass by Mike Eddy to take over 4th in the 88. Here comes Miller. Look at the inside, St. Amant. Can Gary diamond the corner and hold the low line on Miller? Mike very good off the second corner. We saw it laps earlier. 23 remaining.
St. Amant's trying to make the back end of that car wide, but Miller has fresher tires. And again, Rick, you're right. Gary was able to cool him down during that caution, but you know, it's just hard to fight tires that are 30 laps fresher.
I'm surprised Jim Sauter isn't quicker at this point. Carl Hyland and the Janiking team looking on as their driver tries to grab his first checkered flag of the 2000 season. Miller is second in the 18. St. Amant, your leader in the 7 car. Gary with 1 win under his belt already this year. Here's Miller to the inside, down into 1. St. Amant shuts the door. But he's given up the low line this time, and Miller will jump to the inside on the back chute. And Miller just outbreaks St. Amant, eases by to take the lead. Give Mike Miller the top spot. 20 laps to go at Montgomery, and Mike Miller is your leader.
And he's going to set sail now, I'll bet you, Rick, because once he got past Gary St. Amant, you know, he was a faster car to begin with. Now that he's passed him, he might be able to set sail.
Tim Sauter rides 3rd in the 9 car, and trouble up ahead in turn 4. Turn 3, Terry McDonald-Cadieux has spun in the 4 car. Caution on the Speedway. Yellow is waving. Another car was involved briefly. We see Tim Taylor's 28 car going around. He gets it gathered back up, brings the EMAS Chevrolet back around to the front straightaway side. So Terry McDonald has spun up in the 3rd turn. A good run going today. Came to pit road with heat problems in that car, climbed out for several laps, got back in, being shown back in 25th spot before the spin, but she has stopped up on the racetrack. So this may take a little bit of time to get that car gathered up and off the Speedway. To show you what happened here as Terry worked her way down into turn 3. There she is on the binders. Looked like David Bonnet was caught up in that one as well briefly. Terry got too low, it appears, and just spun down there and got the car off the wall at least. So no heavy damage to the car, but it is stalled up on the racetrack. Tracy Goodson brings the 0 car to pit road. A beautiful clear day, just a few high clouds and very hot temperatures here at Montgomery. Closing in on the finish of the Actionline 300. Hey, Friday nights on TNN, the monsters come out. That's when those car-crushing, hard-charging monster trucks let it all hang out. Check out the action on TNN's Motor Madness every Friday at 10 Eastern and Pacific, part of TNN's Thrill Zone Friday. Plenty of thrills here at Montgomery Motor Speedway this afternoon. The ASA AC-Delco Series on TNN Sports. Mike Miller has taken over the lead. The caution for the spin of Terry McDonald-Cadieux. We're about ready to get back to it here. There'll be 16, make it 15 to go when they cross the start-finish line. Carl Hyland watching his driver, Mike Miller. Green is in the air, ready to put this one to bed here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. St. Amant gave up the lead to Miller a few laps ago. He is second. Tim Sauter is third. Mike Eddy is fourth. Kevin Sawinski is fifth. Ricky Johnson rides sixth as we get ready to find out what's going to happen here in the last several laps. Mike Miller opening up, as Steve Burns told you he would. A good, solid lead with fresh tires on the Jana King Pontiac. Miller getting by the car of St. Amant a couple of laps ago, right before the caution, and he has put that machine into the wind. St. Amant now with his hands full because he's got some stout race cars right behind him.
Yeah, the big battles, third, fourth, and fifth. Tim Sauter, Mike Eddy, and Kevin Sawinski are wearing each other out as Mike Miller tries to head for home.
Top 5 all in a bunch right there. There you see Miller out in front. Sauter right there in the 9, and then Eddy as they battle for third spot. Sawinski right there in the 21. There's the 7 of St. Amant back to second. Cream has risen to the top, I think you could safely say, here in the last couple of laps here at Montgomery.
Yeah, you got 3 champions right there, right in a row. Sauter, Eddy, and Sawinski.
Coming up on 10 to go. No one has anything at the moment for Mike Miller. He is about 6 car lengths ahead of St. Amant. We'll show you where everybody runs here in the final couple of laps. Last car in line there, the 34 of Wayne Lemon. The ST Motorsports PawIsland.com Chevrolet.
First 3 races of this year, Mike Miller was 20th in Lakeland. He was 2nd at Lanier and 11th at Hickory, and currently 7th in the point standings.
This will go a long way toward getting him into contention for the season championship in the American Speed Association. Miller with 10 to go. St. Amant has not given up the chase by any means. Gary is 7/10 of a second back. He would have a lot to do to get up and pass Miller in the last 10 laps here, because we've probably seen the best hand of cards he has.
Yep, and we've said it before, Rick. You know, he's got fresher tires, 30 laps or so, as Bob Dillner said. And I just don't think that, you know, barring something unforeseen, I just don't think that Mike Miller's going to relinquish the lead.
St. Amant, though, not giving up. Lap traffic ahead. They've got to get by the 2 Chad Wood, and St. Amant will use the opportunity here to close back in. Tim Sauter coming strongly as well in the 9 car in third.
He sure is.
Sauter's a smart race driver. He learned at the knee of his dad, the great Jim Sauter. Knows how to use lap traffic as an advantage to get around guys that you might not ordinarily be able to pass. There's Eddy in the 88. He has risen back to 4th. Eddy had the dominant car here in the middle part of this race, and then had tire problems, had to come to pit road twice in succession, had to get out of the gas for quite a while under green, gave up the lead and backpedaled all the way to 12th. But through some smart pit work and some fine driving, Mike has gotten back into the top 5 here, sitting 4th. With coming up 5 laps to go. There'll be 5 to go this time by. Your leader in the black and white 18 there is Mike Miller with 5 remaining.
And he's got some lap cars he's got to negotiate. Greg Stewart is right in front of him in the 33. See, Mike has to go around the outside, and this could really slow him down.
St. Amant not giving up in the 7th car. He is second. Miller now with open racetrack. Tracy Goodson's the next car ahead, and Goodson's had a good day today. He's back in 16th spot, about 4 laps down, but ran in the top 10 earlier, and that's a big confidence boost for that team. Sawinski and Eddy battling for 4th and 5th. No change there. There's Sauter ahead in 3rd, and St. Amant 2nd. Mike Miller all by himself in the lead by about 6 or 7 car lengths. It's about 0.8 of a second. You know what's going through Mike Miller's mind at this point. He's had all kinds of misfortune befall him these last couple of seasons. The biggest disappointment for him, of course, missing out on the championship a year ago. He knows the opportunities he'll have to win this national title are dribbling away from him as he has crossed past age 50.
Yep, he said he was devastated about that. You know, he could have just said, second's not bad, but no, he was devastated. And Rick, as we've said before, at the ASA banquet in December, he said he still wasn't over it. At spring training at Lakeland, he said, I'm still not over it. So, yeah, he could get back in the championship race here very quickly.
White flag waving over the 18 of Mike Miller, who's making a statement here this afternoon. Miller all by himself in turn 2. Up onto the back straightaway for the final time this afternoon here at Montgomery Motor Speedway. The Jana King Pontiac of Mike Miller about to score his first victory of the year 2000 from Woodstock, Georgia. The checkered flag for Mike Miller, your winner this afternoon. Crew Chief Carl Hyland with the high fives on top of the pit box. Miller, your winner. St. Amant comes home second. Sauter is third. Mike Eddy is fourth. Kevin Sawinski and Ricky Johnson the rest of the top 6. Butch Miller grabs 7th. Brandon Sperling, Scott Hansen, and Rick Beebe with a good run today to come home in the top 10. Mike Miller, your winner. We will talk to the winner in Victory Lane when we come back here on TNN Sports. This TNN Sports coverage of the ASA Actionline 300 has been brought to you by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control. And by Armor All Protected at Armor All Car Wax. It's not just shine, it's Armor All. And it's Victory Lane for veteran Mike Miller, who's downstairs with our Bob Dillman.
Well, Mike Miller is very excited, but he's very hot, too, taking his time, getting out of the car as he puts on the Actionline 300 hat on. A very happy man. Mike Miller. Woo, he hugs crew chief Carl Hyland. Mike Miller, a very hot day. High fives from Chris Hyland here. A very hot day. You had your son as your spotter today, but let me tell you, the game plan, I think, is what probably won you this race, isn't it?
Absolutely. We talked about it before the race, and I think I haven't talked about it on the air there. Tires were everything, and Gary was in a damned if you do and damned if you don't deal. If he hits and I don't, then he's got to come up. So we did the right thing, and it's great, and the Jana King Pontiac was great today.
Mike Miller with his first win of the year. A good one for him, Rick.
And we congratulate Mike Miller. Show you the unofficial top 10. Gary St. Amant comes home second. Tim Sauter, Mike Eddy, and Kevin Sawinski, your top 5 today. Scott Wimmer, his victory streak ends at 2, but he finishes 11th. We show you the rest of the finish order. We'll be with you 2 weeks from today from Nashville Speedway, USA at 2 o'clock Eastern and Pacific for round 5 of the 2000 ASA AC-Delco Series campaign. It'll be the BF Goodrich 300. We'll be back with you next Sunday, 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific with Race Day on Mother's Day to wrap up all the motorsports action of the week. For Steve Burns and Bob Diller, I'm Rick Benjamin, congratulating our winner, Mike Miller. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.